step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use every comment, hate that makes my fuel. Gather up my energy and boom, I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with, giving my blood so I am relentless.
This is the Keep Hammering Collective with Bert Kreischer.
Thank you.
What's up?
Man, this has been such a day.
Oh, can you believe it?
I actually can't. I'll tell you what, it gives me such perspective on the people you've had on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a day. It's a day. I mean, you know what you kind of do when you do this podcast as a host? You're like, hey, I like you. Would you like to be my friend? And then do my podcast.
Yeah.
And it's, dude, I've said this ad nauseum. It's so difficult to make friends.
Yeah.
People are so much more comfortable having a one-night stand and having sex.
Yeah.
Unprotected sex with someone they barely know. But to say to another man, I'd like to go for a hike. I'd like to get you dialed in with a bow. I'd like to teach you how to use a bow. I'd like to then take you out, shoot the bow, and then can we work out? I want to introduce you to my family. And then let's sit down for a couple hours and talk.
Yeah.
It changes every name on the list that I've seen, and I've watched a lot of these. It puts so much more of a depth to that person where I go, God, Aaron Rodgers is a real dude.
Yeah, he definitely is. But every person I've had, it's like, you know, I have them for a reason because for whatever reason I'm interested in them. Mm-hmm. And then we share this and you form a bond. I mean, I hope we can skip the unprotected sex part. Can we?
We can.
And just go to the friendship part. But yeah, it's like, you know, Rogan or you guys even are just natural conversationalists. Me, I like, you know, sharing my experiences, sharing my life, and then I have an easier time talking.
Yeah.
It's kind of how it works for me.
Rogan's like that a little bit. Like early Rogan was you go to his house.
Yeah. Oh, and that's where he did the podcast?
Yeah, he'd take you back, introduce you to his dogs. You'd probably meet his wife. You'd shoot a game of pool. You'd smoke a joint out by where the kids' playhouse was.
Yeah.
And then you'd do a podcast, and then you'd stick around and shoot pool.
Right.
It's very, I mean, the approach is very similar to Rogan. I think if he had more time on his hands, he'd have people come a little earlier and chill.
Right. No, he's definitely busy, but I think it helps me do this for sure as opposed to just coming in cold. You know,
I agree totally.
But also, look at this.
Oh,
that's yours.
Dude, this is what I was asking you about.
I know.
Montana Knife Company?
That's it.
Oh, man.
Pretty sweet, huh? That's a good knife. And what you asked me what my favorite knife is earlier, and I said a sharp one. But then, aside from that, American made and a company that, you know, they support the podcast, but also they're just good people. But that blade is sharp as hell.
Dude, I'm a knife guy.
Are you?
Yeah, so like when I was on Travel Channel, I got into, I was like, I should find something to collect. Like for my daughters, what I'd do is I would get snow globes wherever I went, and I'd bring home snow globes for them. And then for me, I was like, what do I want? And I was in Golden, Colorado. And my cameraman was like, have you ever heard of Spyderco? I was like, no, what is it? And he was like, dude, we're all going out to Spyderco and getting a knife. And at the time I was like, I didn't care. I was like, go grab me one. And they got me a Spyderco, and I was obsessed with this knife. And then everywhere I went, I would pick up a knife. I'd be like, hey, what, like if anything, like a fishing shop, a hunting shop. And I'd pick up knives everywhere I went. And I have a wild collection of knives, but I don't have one in this case. Absolutely. And I know I don't have a Montana Knife Company knife. This is badass, dude. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you.
That's a good one. So when you kill your first animal, hunt with your bow.
Yes.
You can use that knife right there.
Dude, that was the thing I was saying to you, because I was like, as we talk about bow hunting in general, I don't think I understood the depth of all the stuff that went into it. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy is throughout this day, you've kind of introduced me to different faculties of it. Like when we hiked up to the top of that mountain, I was exhausted. And it put such perspective into what it must feel like to track an animal up terrain that is not gravel pathed,
right?
And you don't pass anyone coming down
with babies,
and you don't know how far it is to the top. We definitely got to talk about that. Yeah. But it's like getting exhausted up to the top. I couldn't, after I shot the bow, I was like, I couldn't imagine shooting a bow at the top of this mountain.
Yeah,
I would be like,
right.
It's been crazy, but my big thing I was obsessed with, like skinning it.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's what I said is like, you know, you talked about, I don't know how we got onto it, but So you kill it. But yeah, that is a big part of it, is that physical part. And then a lot of people, when I first started with bow hunting and I started with the training thing, they were like, do we have to run a fucking marathon to do this? I don't want to do that. But to your point is it does play a big part in how successful you can be, because if you get to the top of a mountain or you try to, do a stalk on maybe a herd is going up through a saddle and you got to head them off before they get there. You can be gassed, you can be winded, and you're not going to be at your best. So I was like, well, I need to train to get, at a higher level of physical fitness so I can get up there and make a good shot. But so your point there was, we talked about, well, could you make a shot when you got up there? But then once the animal's down, then I said, well, then you got to skin it. You got to quarter it or get the meat off. You got to gut it if you're by yourself and you need to move out an elk around. You can get that stuff off without gutting it per se, but that might be a part of it. And then you got to get that on a pack and then hike it all out. And it could be hundreds of pounds of meat, so multiple trips. So being in shape is a big part of it.
Dude, I mean, it amazes me how far away I am from being able to bow hunt. Like, just, it's incredible.
Yeah. Well, not physically, you did great. I thought you did. I mean, you're strong in the gym. You shot great. But yeah, it's there is a lot to it, because we talked about it at the bow rack when we were looking at the pictures of the animals, like the body position of an animal, where you'd hit it with an arrow, what organ that would hit, so how quick it would die. That's a big part of. You're almost a biologist when you're bow hunting too, because you have to know what that arrow is doing.
Oh, I can totally see myself getting up to a massive elk and being like, I can't bring this out. It's too heavy. Someone call in the helicopter.
Yeah, it can be daunting, but I have no doubt, anything seems overwhelming when you're starting at ground zero. I mean, like to run a marathon when you hadn't run, you're like, I can't run a marathon. But when you start running and then you get a mile into it, then you're like, hey, I got a mile done. Now let's get to mile 2. Then you get, so you break everything down. It's no different with this. There's just different parts you have to master at different times.
Yeah. Marathon for me was just like mind over matter. Just, that does it. This foot goes in front of that foot for the next 5 hours. That's it. And you just go, I don't get to question it. Sometimes it's going to be better than times it's going to suck. I don't get to have any argument. That's the problem. You get on a treadmill in your house and you turn on a TV show and you maybe have a box of wine on the treadmill and you're like, this would be nice. And then halfway in, you're like, I don't have to do this anymore. I'm done. I'm getting in the hot tub.
Right. Yeah.
Marathon, you're just like, that's it. This is where I'm at.
Well, I remember like years ago, I think you did a video during a marathon. I think you mentioned me in it.
I did when I crossed the finish line. No, it was a half marathon.
Oh, is that what it was?
I did a half marathon to see if I could do a marathon.
Okay. Which one was that?
In St. Pete. It was a St. Pete. I think it was the St. Pete half marathon. And it was crazy because I got to like 6 miles and I was like, all right, I'm done. I'm hauling ass. And I've checked my what is it, the Phoenix watch? Yeah. I've checked my heart rate on that. My heart rate was like maintaining at 168 for
pretty high.
I was sprinting because I was so done with it. And it was one of the crap ass marathons where it's out and back.
Ooh,
where I'm like, don't even, they're doing that with the LA Marathon now. They're like, no, yeah, you run down to downtown and then you run back to Dodger Stadium. I'm almost like, no one. The idea is to get somewhere,
right?
Like run to the beach,
point to point.
But it was around a cul-de-sac.
Ooh.
So you ran out and then hit a cul-de-sac and then just ran back, and I hauled ass.
Yeah, but yeah. So you gave me a shout out.
I gave a shout out when I crossed the finish line.
Now, how many marathons have you done?
Just the LA Marathon. I'll never do another one.
That was it?
Yeah, it sucked.
Why?
It sucked. Oh, it was. I should have. I was so willful. Because, Rogan said I couldn't do it. Ari said I couldn't do it. Tom said I couldn't do it. And I just have this weird thing. I can't understand it. It's primarily when I run my career, it's under promise, overperform. Mm-hmm. But with my friends, it's over promise, hope that I overperform.
Yeah.
Like when Tommy said he was a great tennis player, I was like, I'll destroy you. He's like, you never seen me play tennis. And I go, I don't need to. I'll destroy you. I love the shit talk of it.
Right.
And then I took him out and his coach pulled him aside. He's like, yo, your boy's got a D1 serve. We have a problem. I aced him 37 times. I aced him 37 times. He was so, and this is when all his body parts worked. He was so defeated
Yeah.
that like he started throwing his racket. I mean, he was like a mess.
How'd that feel?
I loved it. Oh,
Yeah, it
so
felt great,
Oh,
didn't
it
it?
feels so. And when they said I could run a marathon with no training at all, and all of them are like, absolutely not. And I was like, I'm pretty sure I could. I love that with friends. But here's what I also love. I mean this for real, is being around like real dudes like you and Joe, because Joe's the same way. Like if you get into the gym with Joe, he's gonna destroy you.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe had me one time just doing inner hip exercises, and I was on fire.
I bet.
I was on fire. We were just like lifting our leg to the side.
He's so flexible though. Like he'll stand and like hold up his kettlebell and then touch his hand on the ground. Have you done that?
Oh yeah, those windmill things he does.
I can't even do it with no weight.
Dude, his capability in the gym is so different because I don't know, whatever he works is like stuff that he's learned from all those years. So we did inner thigh workout. I don't even know what it was.
Summers had the thigh blaster. Or
I-
what was that called?
Thigh blaster.
Yeah.
I think it was the thigh blaster.
Maybe Joe did that when he was a kid.
Dude, I got stuck on the toilet the next day. I couldn't get off the toilet. But like even with you today, when you're like, hey, Alberto Salazar ran this hill in 13 minutes. I'm hoping you'll break it. For a second, I thought, all right, time to put the cape on. Let's do this.
Right, let's break.
And then you said, so just how do you warm up? I go, I just, a little walk. And I was like, oh my God, please tell me this gets flat. Shut up. And you did not break. Your breath never. I was huffing and puffing. The audio of me going, and snot coming out of my nose. I was like, oh, I could not run this at all. But it's cool when you hang out with like real athletes, like real elite people in their field, because it does put perspective on the trash talk.
Yeah.
It's like when we were talking about Matt Mitrione, when he goes, how much did you weigh at your fattest? And you go, 285. And he goes, no, so like 290? You're like, no, I said 285. He goes, 295? And you're like, wait, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
He just
knows how it works.
They call bullshit.
Yeah.
I love that. But I do love talking shit.
Well, I know Joe, he thinks you're overconfident on your ability, right?
100%.
I've heard you guys on the podcast.
100%.
And I don't know if you're talking about a push-up contest or where he's just like, no, you're not going to beat me. And like, you're like, I think I could.
I remember one time we were high and I said, said something about doing a split. And I was like, yeah, everyone can do a split. And he was like, what? I was like, we can all do splits, Joe. he was like, you can't do a split. And I go, absolutely, I can do a split. And Tom's high too. Tom's like, I think you can do a split. Joe goes, let me see it. And I go, okay. And I start getting down on the ground and I stop like 2 feet from the ground.
Yeah.
And he goes, what are you doing? And I said, I can't do a fucking split. And he goes, wait, why did you say you could? And I was like, I don't know, just see the look in your eyes.
Yeah. Did you know you couldn't?
I knew I couldn't do a split.
Yeah, right.
But it was so fun because he was like,
just until.
It was so hilarious because he looked at me, he was like, why would you say you could do one if you knew you couldn't do one?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I could. I don't know.
Joe doesn't really like overestimate. Like he's like, whatever he says he can do, he can do.
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
But you got to, here's the other thing is that like, and I always defend this because I know, I only know him as the comedian. Mm-hmm. I know everyone knows him as like so much more now. And trust me when I say he's like, I mean this, he's like a big brother to me. I love him. I love him to death. But I really just think of him as a comedian. Mm-hmm. I don't think of him as everything that he's accomplished because that's where I know his I mean, it's like I know him the best. Yeah. So I always deal with him just as a comic. Gotcha. It's like,
just talking shit.
I don't text politics to him. I don't text statin questions to him. I don't like. I'll ask him about, hey, why is my sauna not getting hot enough?
Yeah.
Because he keeps his saunas at like 220.
Right.
I get 180 and I get dizzy.
Yeah. Mine's at like 190 some. Oh. And that's plenty.
Dude.
Yeah. He's extreme on everything. Remember his first ice bath was like 30 minutes or something.
No, hang on. Okay. This is one of my favorite Joe stories.
Oh, okay.
Because this is how I know the guy is like as this guy.
Yeah.
His first ice bath was almost at a minute, and he live streamed it. Oh. And he tapped out because he was like, "This is insane."
Yeah.
And then Joe's fans are like dirty in the comments,
right?
And they're like, "Conquer your inner bitch" or whatever, you know. Yeah. You be the be the lead hero in your own character story or whatever. Stay hard, motherfucker. Keep hammering, Joe. Why are you hammering?
Yeah.
So Joe's brain switches over and he goes, that does it. I'll show them. And he got into the polar plunge for 20 minutes.
Right. Brutal, dude.
He was
Brutal.
He looked like the dude from the Titanic. He started going underwater, and there was a table on top, and Rose was going, "Don't go, Jack." It was crazy. I think he changed his inner core temperature to like 3 degrees.
Probably.
But that's his brain is like,
yeah,
bro. And it's in our business, it's a great guy to get advice from. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember him pulling me aside in the back of this store, and I was just lost. I was doing clubs, but I wasn't doing theaters, and I was doing okay, but I didn't have a special that anyone watched. I had good stuff on the internet, and he was like, "You need to get a Netflix special," and I was like, "Okay." That's typical Joe. Like, how do I do that? Yeah. Cool. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
What do I do? And he was like, you just need to be undeniable. And I was like, I go, do you realize how fucking vague that is?
That's the title of my new book.
For real?
Undeniable.
Dude, I wrote it in my joke book, because I didn't know what it meant.
Yeah.
I just knew that it was a thing that he said by the cooler by the bar at the Comedy Store.
Yeah.
I was like, be undeniable. And every time I'd go in to look at a joke, I'd see be undeniable. Every time I was about to get on stage, I'd see be undeniable.
Yeah.
And then one night, you know, maybe like 4 months later, I'm on stage, and a dude, we had to do 2 shows on like Tuesdays, and I went up like maybe 4th, and this dude went after me. I won't say his name out of respect. And then the next show, he said, "Hey, I got to get out of here early. I need to go before Bert." And they were like, "Okay." And he went before me, and he didn't go anywhere. He didn't have anywhere to go. Mm-hmm. And I got off stage, and he was backstage, and he was confused. And he was like, "Dude, when did you get funny?" And I was like, because it's crazy. There was a lot of people that got famous before, like, well, definitely before me. And I think I was kind of looked at as like, maybe nothing will happen with the guy because I worked on Travel Channel.
Yeah.
So like, I know he's like funny, but like no one really watched my set. No one really gave a crap about following me. And this guy changed around so that he didn't have to follow me. And he was so confused.
Was he, so you killed it, and then he came on and didn't do as good.
The first show.
Right.
And
so
then he was like,
what the fuck? What happened? So he wanted to see you, or why did he switch?
He said, "I don't want to follow Bert," in his head. So he said, "I got to get out of here early. Can I get up before Bert?" And they were like, "Yeah, sure." And he was bigger comic than me at the time.
Yeah.
So, and I've never had a problem following people. Mm-hmm. I always say with stand up, I under promise, over deliver. But like, I've never had a problem following anyone. Mm-hmm. I'll follow anyone. It's never bothered me. I always think my energy will rechannel the room into what I'm doing.
Right.
And then he stuck around. He watched my set, and I did just as good on the second show. And he just came up really candid, and he was like, "When did you get funny?" Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't know. I've been funny." He was like, "Dude, you are like," he's like, "Dude, you're telling stories."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah." And I got in my car that night. I was like, "Wait, was I just undeniable?" Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, "Fuck, that's
Sounds
what that
like
means."
it. Yeah.
And then I started looking at like times when like there was no real excuse for anything. Like people would be like, "Oh, I got to get out early," and then or we'd do a big showcase and they put Bert up last, and then I'd be like, "Okay, I think I'm undeniable." And then right after that, Netflix called and they're like, "Yo, we want you to do 30-minute special," because they were doing 30-minute specials.
Yeah.
And in my head, I sat on my couch. I talked to everyone about it, like advice.
Yeah.
And I sat on my couch outdoors. I was smoking a cigar, and I was like, "No, I'm undeniable." I was like, "I'm going to do an hour." And I told them, I said, "I'll do an hour, but I'm not doing half an hour." And they were like, "Well, we're not offering an hour. Mm-hmm. Hours are different. We're offering you a half hour." And I was like, "Okay, I'm still going to pass. I'm going to do an hour." And 2 days later, they called and they're like, "All right, let's do an hour." And I was like, "Cool." And that was Secret Time.
Yeah. How did that one do?
Dude, I remember.
Killed it?
It was probably the biggest. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it was my best special, but I always think it's my best special. Mm-hmm. It's easily the best I've ever performed. I think that one show I did, the second show in Philadelphia. And I mean, I know that people would disagree with it, that are like my wife, who's edited all my specials.
Yeah.
But that show was just perfect. It was.
How many
perfect.
do you record?
Interesting question. So for Secret Time, back in the day, you do one.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day. Then for The Machine, I did 2, and I killed it on both of them. There's no pressure. I just had great sets.
Yeah.
Secret Time, I did 2, and on the first show, I bombed. Mm-hmm. Like, I really bombed. The air conditioning went out. The generator went out. It was raining, so the crowd was wet. They didn't serve. Everything was a perfect storm.
Shit performance.
And I like at one point I stepped on the mic. So as I walked, the mic went away from my. So it sounded like I went, and the punchline happens here.
Oh no!
I got off stage and my wife's like supposed to take notes on what jokes I flubbed, and she goes, "Well, I don't even know where to start. That was horrible." And my dad did something very interesting which I've always wondered if it's accurate or not. My dad at a very young age told me, I love pressure. He's like, buddy, you're just the guy. You love pressure. Mm-hmm. When all the chips are on the table, that's when you want to be put in the game. When it's 2 outs, bases loaded, and you're down by 3, you're the kid.
Do you know what? You know that was a trick. You know that's a parent trick.
I know that now.
Yeah, yeah. So he was trying to give you that edge.
Yeah.
You probably didn't have it, but he knew you'd need it.
Dude, I said that to my dad, and he goes, I don't know, buddy. I was doing the best I could.
You just come up with what you're grasping at straws as a parent.
I don't think he wanted to see his son fail. And he was just like, all right, you love this. You love this.
Remember? You're great at this.
Yeah.
I am.
Dude, I walked out on that stage, and my wife goes, well, you've always loved pressure. Boy, you put all the chips out now. You better kill it. And I remember going on stage going, dude, this is where I thrive. Mm-hmm. In this moment, this is where I raise to the occasion. And I murdered that set. Like out of all the sets I've ever done, that one time with everything, my first Netflix special, second show in Philly, I remember I got to a joke. The joke was I took Isla, I had to go to parent-teacher conference, and I was hungover. And so I got a cup of coffee and 2 Diet Cokes, threw them in my vest pocket, got to school, sit down, and they're like, yo, we're going to have to hold Isla back. She's dyslexic. And I already killed my coffee, and I crack one of the Diet Cokes, take a sip, and it turns out it's a Coors Light. And the punchline to the joke was, it's a Coors Light. And then the crowd laughs, and I go, that's a game time decision, gentlemen. It's like a finger in your ass in an orgy. Do you pull away from it or do you push back into it? I pushed back into it and I killed that Coors Light. And the place went, ooh, and I went, oh, baby. I'm getting chill. I was thinking about it. But I was like, so that was like a great set. Yeah.
Well, that's so because I know now, do some people record?
Oh, it's interesting.
Yeah, because they do two shows a night for 2 nights and record all 4.
So after that one experience, I was like, I'll never do just 2 shows. I go, there's too much on the line.
Right.
I was
you fuck up one, you could easily fuck up the other one.
You can easily fuck up the other one.
Yeah.
So the next show I did 4. That was Hey Big Boy, and I still planned on. I still ended up fucking up shows. Like at one show, I had mustard on my jeans.
Oh God!
I know, and I was like, and we're watching it in the edit. It's a great show, but there's mustard on my jeans, clearly on my jeans. God. And I go, hey, how come no one told me? How did I get mustard on my jeans? And my wife's like, you wanted hot dogs. And so like you get
nobody told you?
No. And then so that show's shot, right?
Yeah.
What you don't know also, I was shooting a special. This is inside the weeds, but that first show you ever shoot, that show's shot too. Because the audience hasn't, or the cameramen haven't seen your angles. They're filming it for the first time.
Right.
The director's filming it for the first time. So a lot of times that very first show you shoot is kind of a wash also.
Right.
So then I did 4 for Hey Big Boy. I did 4 for Razzle Dazzle, and then this one, which I've named but I haven't announced yet. I was like, I'm doing 6.
6.
I did 6, and I killed 6 shows, and it made it so difficult because
they're all good.
They're all good, and I'm like,
how do you get the best, or how do you choose the best?
What happened was I killed the first 4 shows, and then I was like, why am I doing 6? I was like, but it was the confidence to know you had 6.
Yeah.
That
takes the pressure off.
It takes the pressure off.
Yeah. But you thrive under pressure.
I thrive under pressure. Remember? So I said on those last 2 shows, I said, I'm going to just switch it up and fuck around on stage.
Yeah.
And I switched it up on the first show, and I told a joke I'd never really told. And everyone in the crew's like, whoa, hold on. Where's this been?
Yeah.
I was like, it's something I told a long time ago. I don't tell anymore. And they're like, do it again.
Yeah.
So I did it again, and I changed it up. And then I added something that like, I would never add. It was like a heartfelt story. And I was like, oh, cool. But I still, like, I haven't looked at the edit yet. It's not due for a while, but I haven't looked at the edit. But now I do 6, and that's a Chappelle thing.
That's what he does?
I mean, I'm not going to speak for Dave, only because it's irresponsible. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, on one of his, he shot like 9 shows and really got it. And I got lucky enough to party with him one night, and we were hanging out, having a good time. And I was like, yo, I'm irresponsible if I don't take an opportunity to talk to the greatest guy of my generation, possibly ever, to do it, and ask you some tricks of the trade.
Yeah.
It's like if you get to sit down with any of your bow hunting heroes and you're like, hey man, can I ask you like a couple questions?
Yeah.
And I said to him, I said, I'm getting ready to shoot my special. And he just took over. He goes, how many shows? I said 6. He goes, perfect. I said, really? And he goes, here's what you got to do. And he ultimately laid down the groundwork for what I ended up doing on those last 2 shows.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And he's the greatest. He's like, I feel very blessed to just have a friendship with him.
Yeah, no, he's amazing. So I wonder, I guess every time you film, that's going to come out of, who pays for that?
Me.
Does that come out of what Netflix pays you?
Yeah.
Okay. And then so the more you film, the less you're going to make. But
technically.
Yeah.
So like, I'm going to just give soft numbers so you can put your head around it.
Yeah.
Say a special costs, I'll just say $250,000. Say you decide to spend $250,000 on your special. You can do 2 shows for $250,000. You can definitely do that for 20. You can do it for less if you want. That's actually a real number
for the production cost.
Okay. And that's not too high end of a production cost where you're doing too much like a spider cam or some shit. Like that's just $250. You can shoot an awesome deliverable 4K special for Netflix. Very workable price. And you can probably keep a little for yourself, for real.
And like, what do they cover that cost, or how much do you make from Netflix?
It depends. I mean, this is probably above my pay grade to talk about this, but I think they have different deals for different comics.
Yeah, I would think.
Like I'm certain Joe has a much more lucrative deal for his.
Yeah.
So let's pretend they give Joe $1 million to shoot a special. They don't. I'm certain they don't, but they give him $1 million. Joe can decide how much he wants to keep and how much he wants to put into the special.
I see. Okay.
So, but we're saying if a special costs $250, say you sign a deal for like $400,000. You can try to keep all the money, or you can say, I hope I have the best special. And it only really costs $50,000 to shoot another night of taping.
Okay.
And then another $50,000 because you've already flown everyone out, just paying for room and hotel.
Yeah.
You're just paying for rentals for one more day. It's not all the big costs are out of the way. And then if you're doing it in a theater, or if you're like Joe Coy and you're doing it in an arena, or if you're Fluffy and you're doing it at Dodger Stadium, you also have your walkout, your door.
Right.
So you are also, I mean,
make millions there, right?
without a doubt, Joe Coy is making way more in shooting his special in an arena than probably Netflix is paying him, because he just maybe not. Joe's making a lot of money, but Joe Coy and all Joes. But so Joe Biden is probably not making as much.
Okay.
Although I definitely would go see him on a speaking tour.
I would too. I want to see him on Rogan.
I would.
Be good?
I don't know. It would be a little bit like watching your grandmother talk to your girlfriend.
Elder abuse.
Like, my heart goes out. That guy's been a civil servant his whole fucking life. He's had some real tragedies happen in his life. I don't know if I want to see him go on Rogan.
Yeah.
It's like any of those guys that go on Rogan that have what I guess they call like a paper lion defense, you know?
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
It's, I mean, you can't bullshit with Joe. You just can't. And I've tried. And then he gives you that dead look. Why did you say that? I mean, the best one of those, did you see when Shane said, you know, I said, when I got fired from SNL, I thought, screw it, I'll just go on Rogan. And Shane goes like this. Yeah.
And Joe was like,
why would you say that?
No, I was kind of awkward.
It's one of my favorite moments of a podcast. Because it's so who Joe is, and it's so who Shane is, and it's so how everyone thought at the moment.
Right, I bet.
Dude, he gets canceled, he'll go on Rogan, boom.
Fix it.
And of course, Joe is so anti the direction you think he's going. Anti-salmon, he's just like, why would you say that?
That's tough.
Yeah. Oh, he's done it to me a million times. I said, I have a great joke about UFC. I don't think you're going to like it. And he goes, well, you haven't told it to me. How'd you know if I didn't like it?
Yeah. And
then I tell him the joke, and he doesn't laugh. And he goes, that's a very funny joke. Why did you think I wouldn't like it? And I go, I don't know. Never mind.
And the thing about Joe, too, is like, I've never heard him give bad advice. Have you? Has he given you bad advice ever?
No. No. As a matter of fact, no.
So it's like, if you have any question about...
Some of his advice keeps me up at night.
Yeah.
I remember him a long time ago going, I'm concerned about your drinking.
Yeah.
And this is when no one was saying it.
Right.
And I was like, really? And he's like, yeah, we got to take care of that. I hear him say that in my head so many times.
Right. Yeah.
Because he's not a dick. Like some people when they reach out, especially when you're off the, like I was telling you, I was probably 290. Who knows how big I was? I was disgusting. And I was partying like crazy. I had no rules to anything. I would buy an outfit to wear on the Today Show in LA, fly to New York, and it wouldn't fit me that morning. Ooh. Dude, I would put on weight. I was so bloated, so unhealthy. I started seeing Brigham right around then, and I was like, Brigham and Denise will tell you, like, they were like, yo, you don't have to be nervous about your blood work. We're not
judging you.
We're not judging. We're trying to help you.
And that's Brigham Ways to Well, by the way.
Yeah. Shout out to Brigham and Denise. And what would happen is people would reach out to you and say they were worried about you, but sometimes it was more about them.
Probably about them, yeah.
And you were just like, okay.
Yeah.
It was bizarre, the people that would reach out and you're like,
can you clean up your own fucking backyard before you're looking over the fence?
One guy was 380 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I know I'm overweight, but I'm still 100 pounds away from you. Yeah. And by the way, everyone talks about you're behind your back like you're gonna have a stroke.
Right.
Like, and so, but Joe was the one person that it was never public. It was never like aggressive. It was always like a buddy and having a drink with you. Hey man, I remember him saying, and this is the way his brain works. He's like, you're running a lot. And I said, yeah. And he goes, but are we worried about your knees? Because you're pretty big. And I was like, I don't know. Should I be? And he was like, I don't know. A week later, Tommy blows out his knees trying to jump. And I'm like, oh, thanks, Joe. Joe actually had really, a week later, Tommy tries to jump.
Pertinent advice.
Yeah.
One of my favorite packages that I get on a monthly basis is a Black Rifle Coffee Club exclusive coffee roast. The only way you can get it is if you subscribe to the coffee club. This month's coffee is a dark roast called Gothic Serpent. It's a Tanzanian roast with hints of stone fruit, tangy citrus, and sweet chocolate. The exclusive coffee subscription gives you nothing but the best. It's a Coffee of the Month club where you get premium roasts from the best farms worldwide. Black Rifle Coffee is America's coffee. It's veteran-owned and operated. They support hunting and conservation and give back immensely to the veteran community. They're offering followers of the podcast 20% off on your first purchase to the coffee club or order on their site using code KEEPHAMMERING to get America's coffee today. Sig Sauer is leading the firearm outdoor industry in American innovation, ingenuity, and manufacturing. For over 250 years, Sig Sauer has evolved and thrived by blending American ingenuity, German engineering, and Swiss precision. SIG is synonymous with industry-leading quality and innovation, which has made it the brand of choice amongst the U.S. military, the global defense community, law enforcement, competitive shooters, hunters, and responsible citizens. That's why I have decided to partner with them for my personal protection and concealed carry of choice. SIG and I are working on some pretty cool collaborations for the archery community as well, and I'm thrilled to have them as a sponsor of the show. SIG is actually offering you guys a discount on optics too, which is unheard of in the industry. I'm looking forward to trying out their new image stabilizing binos, the Zulu 6 on my bear hunt in Alberta with the rivets. Those are also 10% off using code CAM at sigsauer.com. That's code CAM for 10% off. Yeah, it's no. I don't know. I was curious. So you're telling your story about comedy. Did you get funnier, or what happened? How did it change? When did your trajectory change?
I think honestly, I think it's when I started telling the machine, because I was so many comics, and if you're in comedy long enough, you'll see so many comics trying to do the thing that's sellable at the moment. Like when Dane Cook was the cat's pajamas in this business, a lot of guys had Dane Cook energy, probably me included.
Yeah. He was big at a time, yeah.
I mean, it was like watching the first caveman make fire.
Yeah.
He was doing I walked into a store through the door. I looked at the lady in her eyes. I mean, it was so mesmerizing that everyone got caught up in it, and everyone was trying to do a version of Dane because it was just what was buying, and it was hot, and it was undeniable. At the time, it was undeniable.
Right.
And I think for a period of time, I was always trying to be the edgy guy, and I wanted to have the edgiest joke, and I wanted to be talking about the hot button topic that kind of, you wanted the room to go, whoa. And within 1 week, I had two things happen. I had this joke that was a bullshit joke about my daughter Isla putting her finger in her ass and put it in the dog's mouth, which I just was like, it was like a joke I told him when no one was watching. And I went on Rogan and I told the machine. And Joe was like, I mean, this moment you can pinpoint it. It's probably the moment that changed my career. He goes, he is supposed to tell that from this point forward, he's only to be known as the machine. If you see him on stage, you are to call him the machine and you make him tell this story. And I was like, Joe, it's not a stage story. He goes, it is. You just have to learn how to tell it.
Right.
No one, and I don't think there's very many people doing it today. And I can say that confidently, but I'm certain at the time, no one was telling a 12-minute, 15-minute story.
No, I haven't heard one.
It's just no one's definitely telling that story after 15 years straight again and again and again. I'm the only guy doing that.
You told it at Moda Center here in Portland and it killed.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know how many times you told it, but it still works.
As long as I keep going to a bigger venue.
Yeah.
I go, it's still new people.
Right.
And I went from clubs to theaters to bigger theaters to arenas to amphitheaters. Mm-hmm. I mean, but I went to Columbus, Ohio that weekend and I said, I was like, I would go to do my act, and I remember them chanting out the machine in Columbus, and I was like, guys, I'm not going to do it. And they're like, come on, Joe said you have to do it. And I was like, guys, it's not a stage story. And one guy in the front row was like, Bert, we'll fake laugh, don't worry. And I was like, oh my God. So I told it. It was probably 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
And I got done, and dude I was working with was like, dude, I think that's going to be legit. If you can skinny that up, and that's a really great story. It's just, it's stage, it's a little long.
Yeah, tighten it up.
And I started doing it every night. I was like, you know what? I don't care if I kill. I want to be better. And so I started learning to tell this story, and I learned so much about stand-up within telling it that I was like, wow. And then when I figured out that story, I learned how to tell other stories quicker and faster. And that story about Isla putting her finger up her ass, one night I did it at the Irvine Improv. I just done it, like I've been working on it, not working on it, but I worked on the machine, and I learned how to tell it, and I realized it needed in the ending, and I did it in front of this guy Ian Bagg, who was like, dude, that is your stand-up. Like that is what you talk about your family, dude. It's still edgy. Like, yeah. And I think that year I learned so much that I started applying to it, and I was like, okay, I don't care what anyone else is doing on stage. I don't give a shit. I want what I have to be undeniable, and I want it to be different. I don't want anyone to be able to tell anything I have. And I'm just going to talk about really, really personal stuff, and I'm just going to tell my stories. And all of a sudden, it's like after I learned how to tell the machine, I learned how to tell this fighting a bear. I fought a bear one time. I jumped out of a plane with Rachel Ray. I'm still working on this tamed lion story. I tamed lions for a day, and then I had all these stories about my family that I learned structure wise could be done so well because I learned how to tell this 15-minute story. Yeah.
What'd you learn? I mean, what's the key to telling a story?
People need to know it's over.
Yeah, the ending.
You gotta tell the story's gotta end. It's gotta end. And I learned that on accident. I had said this bit I had about something. I didn't have an end of the story. I'd tell the machine story, and I'd go. I thought it ended with I walked up to the cops. Cop walks up, gets close to me. I can smell his morning cigarette, and he goes, "So I understand you're the machine." I thought that's where the story ended.
Yeah,
and I couldn't understand why. They just sat and they're like, "End," and I was like, "Well, no, that's it." Yeah. And they're like, "What happened next?" And then I just continued to tell about the rest of and it just trailed on. And then one night, I had this boring part in the middle of the story after we robbed the bar cart, and the teacher comes in and she opens the door. And I was telling like stuff that didn't matter in the story, but it's just stuff that I found interesting.
Yeah.
And I didn't tell any of that stuff. And I just told when he spit the vodka in her face. And someone in the audience, or in my brain, I was like, someone needs to say something here. And the phrase those gangsters said all the time was, "This is Russia." They always said that. Like, guys, this is Russia.
Yeah. And
I said, he looked at her, spit vodka in her face. He was like, and I said, he turned to me and he goes, "Fuck that bitch. This is Russia."
And that's the ending now?
And immediately I went, "Oh,
that's it."
If I have the cop say that at the end.
Yeah.
The cop comes in, "Tonight you party with us." It waits, give it a beat. Everyone wants to know what happens. And I go, "Wait, I'm not in trouble." And he gets so close I can smell his morning cigarette. And he goes, "No, fuck that bitch. This is Russia." They know it's over.
Right.
And it would getting a applause break. And I was like, oh shit, yeah, you got to know it's over.
They got to know when to clap.
Yeah, and
when
I
to laugh.
And then I would learn throughout that. Like I had a story about Isla me eating edibles, Isla me eating edibles, over serving myself, Isla coming in my room in the middle of the night and asking me if I believed in time travel. And one night I fucked it up and I told a story about her keeping her deodorant in the refrigerator, and I started it, but I didn't finish it.
Okay.
And all of a sudden that was in the middle. And then as I told it, she goes, Dad, do you believe in time travel? And I'm like, yeah. She goes, I go, why? What's that? She goes, that's all I need to know. And walked away. And then I go, oh my God. I go, now I think there's a 30-year-old version of my daughter in her bedroom going, so what did he say? And he's like, I told you I was real. Your dad's going to die, but we can save his life. I need you to put your deodorant in his refrigerator. And the place went crazy. And I went, oh, shit. And then I will tell you, I got too nifty with endings. Oh, yeah. The second you learn how to put garlic and shit, all of a sudden you start over-garlicking everything.
Too much, yeah.
And so then that was the key. That's what I think I did probably best in this new special is I didn't need everything didn't need to have a tight bow. But
gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. It's that delivery. I mean, I liked it, the morning cigarette, because it gives people that they know what that smells like. You know what somebody with cigarette breath smells like.
Yeah.
So like it kind of puts them there. So it's like those little details, I think, also help a story.
Oh, dude. You can paint a picture with and I think that's our job as comics, is to paint a picture as clear and concise as you can with just real quick.
Yeah.
I can't think of a great example I do, but I will say, like, when I talk about the hike to my daughters, I'll say stuff like, oh, it's beautiful because it's got fog, but the sun is streaming through it. Mm-hmm. And then you can almost picture that hike we did this morning.
Yeah. Exactly.
Or like, you walk into the bow shop and you can describe the energy of the men in there. It's like a Christian's men's meeting, but they let you curse,
Yeah.
Like
well, you walked in and you're like, I don't know, something about smells like man, or I don't know what you said. I can't remember what you said, but it's like that visual you had. And it kind of, I think your daughter mentioned that what you do is journalism, and when you write, you tell a story with words, and those words need to put the reader there. That's no different than when you're talking or when you're telling a joke or when you're explaining the bow shop or the mountain or whatever. Is these words that we use are so valuable and so important. And it's like the right word at the right time means so much.
I love a small detail.
Yeah.
Like a small detail.
That's journalism, though. That's like
tells
what
you
your daughter
so
was
much.
saying.
I would get obsessed with small details. Mm-hmm. And I mean, anyone that listened to me knows I would often keep any small detail in a story just because I loved the small detail.
Yeah. Can you think of one?
If I do any bit, I could over detail anything.
Okay.
I could over do.
That's the magic, though, is finding that perfect amount, isn't it? Of garlic, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I just think it adds to it, and the ending, if you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, my stories always fucking flop. All you need is an ending. Work backwards from the ending.
Right.
Sometimes the ending's the best. You start with the ending and you go, this is a great story. I don't need to do anything. And then you got to fill in the middle parts. But, so I haven't done stand-up in so long right now that as I'm thinking, it's like, normally when you do a lot of stand-up, you're on and you could recite your act.
Yeah.
But like, there's a new bit I'm working on about... I'm sure this will never make it into a special, so I don't mind telling it. I'm so far away from my next special that if this stays in the act, I'll be shocked.
Yeah.
But like I went into, we were on the road and we were eating lunch at one of those. It's like a Bennigan's. You know what a Bennigan's is?
Yeah.
Do you remember how they had all flare everything and it's like weird freaky mirrors?
Yeah, just like Office Space flare.
Yeah, just like Office Space. And I was walking to the bathroom, and as I turned left to the bathroom, there was a black dude, turning right out of the bathroom, and we almost walked into each other in the doorway, and I thought it was a mirror, and I went, "Oh my God, I thought that was a mirror," and the black guy goes, "You're not black," and I meant to say, "I'm not," but because I was caught off guard, I did it like a question. I go, "I'm not." And then he was so taken off that he turned around and walked back into the bathroom. And I still have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
So I walk in and he's just washing his hands.
Yeah.
And I was
it
like,
was chaos.
And I was like, as this is happening, I go, this is pretty funny.
Yeah.
I go, this story needs an ending.
Right. Yeah.
And so I walk into the urinal. undo my pants. I go, oh my God, I'm not.
Yeah, there you
and
go.
the black guy starts laughing, and I go, all right, that's a bit.
Yeah.
That's a bit. It's a bit. It's small. It's digestible. And then the way I work, I go, that needs to be something bigger. So I'll take that little intro and then turning it into a larger conversation of like a better story. Or
yeah, I think it's like if you're talking to yourself, it's like, I can't believe I thought I was black. And then you look down, and then there it is.
I'm not.
Yeah, obviously, I'm not.
Yeah. But it's like,
where is my dick?
you can, and by the way, you can tell a great story. Like I'm old, especially if you've been doing comedy long enough, you can go like, dude, that's, I mean, the story he was telling at breakfast, I go, it's fucking perfect.
Are we ready to unleash that one, James? No.
It's great when you do. I honestly save it for your 1 minute of Kill Tony. Do it on Kill Tony. It'll destroy.
Tony doesn't know I'm going to be on Kill Tony yet.
Oh, he'll have you in a heartbeat, especially when he does the Portland Arena.
Oh, yeah. That's you know who my favorite lately is on Kill Tony is that Ari Mati or whoever.
Ari, I know who you're talking about. I don't know how to say his last name. He's from Lithuania or something.
Somewhere. Or, I don't know.
He's very funny.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, and very funny for not being born speaking English.
Yeah.
Like that's hard.
Oh man. I think he's got some I think the funniest one is where the homeless guys, how good they have it. Like they can see a hot girl and pull their dick out because they know they're not going to fuck them. They come back. The girl runs off. They high fives his boys. He's like, what are the cops going to do? Come arrest me? He's like, oh, what are you going to do? Give me a bed? I mean, it's like, it's pretty funny. He's got some good stuff.
There's a lot of those Kill Tony kids. I say kids. I mean, they're younger than me.
Yeah.
But like and they're hungry. They're really hungry. And I'll tell you, man, and it's a thing about Austin. It's a thing about Joe, and it's a thing about, I would say the group of comics is they're stirring up the system, and they're breaking the mold.
Right.
I mean, the mold was, go on the road, get in at all the funny bones, get in at all the improvs, be a good kid. $1,500, that's all you're going to get, and that's a lot of money. Don't ask for more. No, you're going to pay for your own hotel. Maybe we'll put you at the condo, or you're going to pay for your own hotel. You got to pay for your own travel. Don't do it. And now these Kill Tony kids have been doing stand-up 1 year, 3 years, some more. I think William Montgomery's like a legit, like been doing it, I think 10 years.
Yeah.
But they're breaking the mold. They're breaking the system, and they're going in and they're doing theaters and rock clubs. They're fast tracking, but fast tracking sounds like a cheat code. They're just doing their own thing. It's like that was the brilliance of Tommy, is that Tom Segura Tom never really subscribed to the system. Like he got into the system and then was like, yeah, this is stupid.
What, to go on the road and do all that?
Yeah. I remember Tom, me and his wife and my wife were all very close. And I remember Christina one time saying, Tom doesn't think I should do the funny bones. And I remember being like, don't listen to Tom. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Trust me. Christina, I call her Push. I go, Push, you got to do the funny bones. You get in with the funny bones. Be cool with the managers. Do whatever they say. Stay late. Party with the staff. Have a good time. Sell merch. And then you'll build an audience that way. And then Tom just did it his own way. And one day I'm like, yo, where the fuck's the Tropicana? And he's like, oh, it's like or the Trocadero. And he was like, it's a rock club. I do a rock club. I do one night there. It seats 600. I get the door. And then instead of just doing the funny bone or whatever, the helium, I was like, yeah, but helium seats like 2,000. And he was like, yeah, but I'm not going to be there all weekend. And then he told me like what he made in one night, and I called Christina. I was like, I was wrong. And then Tommy called me and he's like, you need to stop doing helium. You got to do the Troc.
Yeah.
And then I did the Troc, and I ended up doing it for myself, where I did Secret Time. I did 7 shows, and I was like, what am I doing? Yeah. But you gotta be willing to do what the system tells you not to do, and that's what these Kill Tony kids are doing.
Yeah.
Well, Joe's that disturber, because Joe's always like, dude, fuck that.
Yeah, I do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. He'll be like, it'll work. I mean, like I said,
you said it in the car.
I wish I believed in myself as much as he believes in me, but he's just like, he believes in people.
Dude, me too. Yeah. I wish I believed in myself as much as he believes in me. He calls me up all the time and will give me some advice about something, and you're like, oh, I don't know, Joe. You're like, part of you's like, yeah. I mean, he guy's been batting 1,000, but you're like, what if this is the one?
Right.
You're talking about me. I'm not that good.
I'm always like, well, he can take chances because he's, got a lot more money than me. I can't take chances.
Dude, but he took chances. He took chances. He took wild chances.
Yeah.
When like he wasn't who he is today.
Yeah.
I mean, that's his thing is, I don't know, man. He's got that. I always used to think he got that everyone who's a real Rogan listener right now, you'll get this reference. And if you're not a real Rogan listener, you won't get this reference. He's got that Brazilian cat germ that makes you take wild chances. Have you ever heard about that?
No.
There's this. It's not a cat. Okay. The cats in Brazil release something in their poop that the rats eat that makes the rat want to take chances. That helps the cat kill the rat.
Oh, nice.
And it's like, I think it's CTE ultimately. It makes you want to do wild shit. But Rogan used to talk about that so much on his podcast back in the day. Like he'd be like, there's like a gene that comes out. It's secreted out of the pheromones of the cat that the rat eats, and it makes it want to tail. And it was like, it's like an old school reference.
Right. So that's him taking chances.
He loves it. I mean, he loves the, what other fucking, I mean, he's done such wild shit. Moved to Austin when he didn't, it's not like he's not calling his dad going, hey, what do you think if I did this?
Right,
He's just
doing
goes,
it.
Yeah. Looks at his wife. He's like, I got an idea.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, okay.
I know. He's like tried to get me to move. And I think about how much, God, it'd cost a lot to move all this stuff to
I've already thought about that. As we were in here, I go, you have made it where you're going to die here. Mm-hmm. There's no way to get all these moose and elk head out of here. Like
I know. And he's just like, he goes, what are you talking about? I moved my whole, he had that whole huge studio at LA. Yeah. And he's like,
oh shit, he moved the whole studio.
Yeah. He's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you can move that easy. And whatever.
Would you move to Austin?
I love it. I mean, this is, I've lived here forever. This is my routine. The lift, run, shoot is Pisgah and Wayne's and the bow rack, OPH for breakfast. I mean, how can I change that up?
It would be tough. I told you there's something very, very, for lack of better words, very sexy about growing up in a town and living in a town. And I'm bummed that I don't have it. Mm-hmm. I would love to be a part of Tampa the way that my friends are all that live in Tampa. And like I was telling you, it's like when we all get together, we talk and we catch up. But when I see them talk to each other, it's like they're speaking a different language.
Right. They got that connection. So.
Yeah. And it's cool. And I leveraged it for my career. Mm-hmm. But like I don't have it with anyone in New York. Definitely don't have it with anyone in LA. Mm-hmm. Everyone from LA is a transplant. I think, especially when I come here, I go, this would have been a badass place to live.
Eugene?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we also got to see where Pre died.
Obsessed with Pre.
Yeah. So I had to take you up there to Pre's Rock. We went to OPH for breakfast.
That was a great breakfast.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted you to get the full experience.
Oh.
So that was fun. You were a big hit with everybody here.
I got, I've
Renegade Barbershop.
Oh, that might have been my highlight.
That was so good. I know it was their highlights.
Oh, we went in and first of all, I get into my favorite conversation I can't ever get into is when a guy says, I lost 100 pounds. I love those conversations.
Oh, man. I know Mario's looking good.
He looks phenomenal. And by the way, he showed a picture. Such a different person.
Yeah.
When he was overweight, he looks like a guy who just giggle a little bit. Now he looks like the barber of Seville.
Yeah. He's such a good guy.
And then he's like, hey, man, you want a haircut? And I was like, no, but I could have my back shaved and my tits lined up.
I've never heard about the tits lined up.
Oh,
that's a hack.
Oh, dude.
You don't need to lift.
It's the same thing people do with their pubic hair. You
right.
Give yourself a little Caesar cut and everything looks bigger.
Right.
You trim back the bushes, you got more sidewalk.
I think Haley enjoyed that story.
Yeah, I think she might have.
Yeah. So that was good. Hero is in there. We had a great time. That was fun.
The highlight of our trip had to be my aggressive, unintentional flirtation with those two girls.
Oh man. Yeah. I'm better at going down. That was a good one.
Hold on.
No, that was, you told those girls. Yeah.
Well, okay. Just to put it in perspective. So this hike is pretty intense. Now, for me, I'm just going to say for me, Cam seemed to be very comfortable. And so every time we got on a flat part, he'd go, how about we jog this part? And I'd be like, cool. And I was just burning in my lower back. And it turned out that on two flat parts, were the same set of girls.
Yeah.
So I would jog past them on the flat part, and then there was a steep part, and then they'd lap me. One girl had a dog, one girl had a baby and a baby Bjorn who was 7 months old.
Yep.
They were not sweating. I'm sweating through a sweatshirt. And then as they pass me, I then go to pass them again on the flat part, and they call me on it, and then they meet me at the top. They're not winded. I can't catch my breath.
Right.
But they're very cool. We talk. I think we did. They watched us film some stuff, and then they started heading down. And then we hung out and talked for a little bit. And then when we started heading down, I see them. I don't know what's wrong with me. I have an impulse to talk. I said, as we passed, I said, I'm better at going down than going up.
Yeah.
And Cam just goes, oh, God. And the one girl's like, cool. Yeah. Like, I didn't mean it like that.
Yeah. It was.
Sometimes I go down so hard I trip, and I end up doing it on my knees. I mean, it's just like so bad. It was so bad.
It was. Yeah. But hey, that's why we love you,
dude. I've always said, like, there's comics that say the right thing at the right time and zing you, and they're the king of the room. And I think I'm just a fool. I've always been a fool. I'm very honest, and I'm goofy, and I think weird thoughts, and I do weird things. And I love the job of being a comic, but man, if you want to define Bert Kreischer, who I've been my entire life, I'm better at going down than going up is who I am.
I love it. Well, you're talking about Tampa and growing up there. What did you think you were going to do when you were as a kid? What were you going to do when you grew up?
I figured I'd probably be a lawyer. Yeah, as my dad was a lawyer, and so I was like, I guess that's kind of what, like, all my friends who had dads everyone just thought they'd be a lawyer. And then my uncle had a lobbying firm, and like a lobbying firm, I guess is what it's called, out of DC. And so right before the Rolling Stone article came out, I went up there in college to like go and kind of like see if I fit in and if it's something I wanted to do.
Rolling Stone article. What do you mean?
I got written up in Rolling Stone magazine when I was 25.
As for being a comedian?
No.
Oh, for what?
No, for being the #1 party animal in the country.
What?
Yeah.
You did?
So
I didn't know that.
I think I'll have an interesting. When I die, people go, "Wow, that guy was kind of interesting."
What about a book? Have you done a book yet?
Yeah, it was. I don't read, so I'm not sure I should have written a book. I listened to yours on audiobook.
Oh, thanks.
No, I was in college for like 6.5 years, 7 years, and on my last year, Rolling Stone magazine wrote a 6.5-page article about me calling me the #1 party animal in the country.
Oh shit!
And it changed my life. It changed my life entirely.
Yeah.
And I didn't
name recognition.
I mean, I recorded it. They came and stayed with me in November of my final senior year. It came out in April, but right before that, in March, I went up to kind of, apply to work at my uncle's lobbying firm, moved to DC. That's what my plan was. And when I went to spring break, my dad was like, yo, I think this article is about you. And I was like, for real? And he was like, yeah, because they sent all the pictures and you're in all the pictures. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you need to sign off on these, but if you sign off on them, you're going to be in all the pictures. And I was like, cool, that'd be awesome. And then it came out, and it, like, the opening sentence of that magazine, it came out April 1st of 1997. And the opening sentence is, it's taken Bert Kreischer 6.5 years to become the man he is today, the #1 partier at the #1 party school in the nation. And that's
impressive.
It changed my life. It was like, immediately I started doing television interviews, radio interviews. Oliver Stone's company optioned the rights to my life. I said in the article I wanted to be a stand-up. So a radio station put up a big stand-up show at this place called Potbelly's. So I did Potbelly's for one night, did 20 minutes. At the end of the show, I would never have done it now. I'd be the last person having never done stand-up.
Yeah, that's a tough position.
Doing 20 fucking minutes.
That's a long time for the first time.
It just went, it was like perfect. It was like, and now granted, it was like a lot of my friends, were in the room, and it just went perfect.
Felt comfortable.
Oh, I felt comfortable. I felt probably the purest I've ever been on stage.
But so That was your goal, to be a stand-up comedian?
It was just like I'd said it casually. I thought I'd best case scenario sell carpets in East Georgia, maybe. Hopefully I'd get a job selling boats with my girlfriend's dad.
A good commission.
I've been the best luxury item salesman.
Yeah.
RVs, boats, motorcycles, ATVs, anything that would just take your mind off work. I could sell the fuck out of that.
Love it.
And then, but I said comic, and I did stand up one time and immediately was like, I'm moving to New York. I'm going to be a comedian. No thought process, didn't think it through, no backup plan, just moved to New York and then, got my lunch money taken from me real quick. I mean, you just realize how far away you are from a competent comic when you've done it once.
Right.
And I got a job working the Boston Comedy Club at the door. And 6 months later, Will Smith discovered me.
Really?
Yeah.
And then what happened?
Moved to LA. We sold a sitcom to NBC and developed a sitcom. Did another showcase night a year later. Got another development deal. Got a TV show. I mean, I was like, that's when I met Joe for the first time on that TV show. He was a guest on the show. He was doing Fear Factor. It's called The X Show.
Okay.
And Gary Valentine was a good friend of Joe's, and he did it. I think he did it because of Gary. But Joe was a guest and hung out with Joe, and I was like, dude, he's the coolest fucking guy. And and then all that shit went away. I mean, I did a lot. I did a bunch of TV shows, but I had some money, and then all the work went away. I focused on stand-up because I was like, stand-up will never go away. The TV shows go away.
Yeah.
Met Leanne, spent all the money I had, and we started from scratch, broke.
Where'd you meet her?
Well, I met her like 3 times. I met her one time. I was taking a hike at that place I was telling you, Runyon Canyon.
Yeah.
It is cool when you spend a day with a person because I don't have to. It's like I've already talked to you about this place.
Yeah.
I met her at the base of Runyon Canyon. She was writing a script with her friend, and she was so fucking hot. And I walked in, and she was such a bitch. And I love bitches.
That happens to hot girls are bitches usually. Aren't they?
Yeah, they never had to work for anything. And so. And then
if you're a bitch and you're not hot, you better fucking switch it up.
And if you're hot and nice, bitch it up.
Yeah, what are you doing? Okay, we got that established.
And so then the next, like a week later, I went to yoga with my friend, and she was there, and her ex-boyfriend tried to win her back in front of the yoga class, and she dressed him down in front of. He had flowers, and he was like crying. And she was like, you are making a fool of yourself and of me. I broke up with you in the best way possible. You fucking leave. This is, how dare you leverage all these people energy for you. And I really like broke him down. I said to my buddy, I go, I don't ever want to be that guy. And I sat next to her.
And here you are.
Yeah. And then we went bowling one night. I told you I was like 186.
Yeah.
I looked shredded. Amazing. You wouldn't recognize me if I showed you a picture. I don't have my phone, but if you Google skinny Bert, you'll be like, oh my God.
Really?
Met her, and the rest is history.
Nice.
Yeah. It's been 20 years we've been married. We've been together 22, I think. And I fucking love it.
Yeah. Well, what a journey. So basically that article launched your stand-up career.
Oh, 100%. Did
you graduate?
Yeah, I had to graduate through the Florida prison system.
What?
So this is going to sound like, we were talking about this today, about a time before telephones and a time before the internet. They didn't have online courses yet. They hadn't invented online courses. In 1997, 98, you could do correspondence classes through the state of Florida. So it's identical to the Florida prison system. You get a box of books and some tests, and you just had to read the book and take the test. And I had to take 6 hours. It was the most tedious 6 hours I've ever taken in any college. It took me forever. And you had a timeline. When you got the books, you had I want to say 6 months to finish it. You had a semester to finish it, a little more. Dude, I still to this day have nightmares about Viking longships. that was one of the classes that was on Viking longships. Ooh. And it was just it was nothing. You didn't never need to learn any of this.
Right.
And
what was your degree in?
Creative writing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the two.
That's help with jokes. How's that help?
I didn't
Were you
realize,
good at it?
No. I'm not a good speller. So, and this is, obviously I was taking classes before
Spell check.
Before like we had computers, but I didn't know how to cut and paste.
Right.
I didn't know how to spell check.
Yeah.
You just write a paper. And they had something called a word processor. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
A word processor was kind of a computer typewriter.
Kind of, yeah.
And no, you'd turn in a paper to class. Like you had a paper that you turned into class.
Right.
I remember one time I wrote a script and I meant to write voila, but I wrote viola.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
like,
it's close.
It was close. And they're
Yeah.
like, it's so confusing. Why would a wind instrument come into this? I'm like, what? They're like, bro, you. And I was like, so yeah, I was not a good creative writer.
I see.
I've always had like an active imagination of like, especially with like telling a story, of a way to punch it up to make it interesting. Like I've always been, my whole life, I would tell a story, like especially in high school. I went to an all-boys Catholic high school, and there would be times when I'd sit down and they'd be like, no, hang on. That was, let Bert tell you what happened on Friday. And I'd be like, are we talking about the beer run? And I'd be like, oh, and I just knew this. I mean, like it was like small things. Like I remember the one joke, and this is silly, but we were in college. We did a beer run, and the guy that worked out there came out with a knife, and he was going to fight us for doing a beer run or something. And I said, and then one of my buddies is like, drop the knife and fight me like a man. And the guy drops the knife, and I go, and he threw a punch from Miami to Portland, Oregon, just whap. And they're like, oh, and it's like, we were just dumb enough to kind of know where Portland, Oregon was.
Right, yeah.
And everyone's like, oh, and he knocked our buddy out. But I was always like good at storytelling. I could always take whatever story happened over the weekend and make it like,
Yeah,
make
better.
it like funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's so a lot of successes. Have you ever bombed?
Yeah.
Let's hear that story.
Aggressively.
Do you need that water on the other side, James?
Here.
There we go.
Everyone's bombed. Everyone's had horrific bombs. And
Yeah.
I mean, if you haven't, then
Does it leave you questioning your career?
oh,
Just one bomb. After you've had 100 successes and one bomb, and you're like, I can't do this.
well, it's at a certain point in your career. I had a bomb recently that made me question my entire life.
Really?
Hassan Minaj hit me up, and he's like, "Yo, you want to come do a spot on my show?" I was like, "Easy, done, son. Let me show you what greatness looks like."
Oh no, undeniable.
I'm undeniable. And I ate a hot dick.
Ooh.
And as I got off, he was like, hey, I got a different audience. He saw it. He was
Yeah.
like, it's tough. It's a little different than your audience.
Is his comedy different than yours, or
His comedy is very smart, and it's
Yeah.
very multicultural and very inclusive. I'm not saying I'm not inclusive, but I make jokes. Like I make jokes in my new special. I make jokes about my wife. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know me, and it's not, and by the way, I think at the time I was doing it wrong because you're in front of your fan base, so you're doing the joke about your wife to your fan base who knows your wife.
they know, yeah.
Yeah, and they're like, he loves
know
her.
your story.
But if you
Right.
don't know me and you're
Right.
like a 21-year-old
Yeah.
East Indian child who works at a computer tech firm,
Right.
and who's like, oh my God, why did he take his shirt off? And they're like, did he just kill a beer? He just murdered a beer. Oh my God, like he's gonna throw up. He's gonna throw up on the audience. He doesn't like his wife. Oh my God, he said his wife's old. She's only 54.
Right.
Which is old. It's old. But God, why would he say that out loud? It went so poorly. And everyone around, I think Tim Dillon saw it. I mean, like everyone was like, good God. I had to shoot a special. I had to do the forum in 2 days.
Ooh.
And I was like,
with that on the heels of that?
yeah. And I was like, oh my God. I mean, the worst bomb ever. Miami, Florida. I go up. Leanne was pregnant with Isla, so this is 2006. It's summer. She's about to give birth. Now I'm gonna have 2 kids, and I think I'm killing it. What I was doing was replacement sets. So the improvs would call up at the last minute and go, "Hey, $900. Can you get to Miami this weekend?" Mm-hmm. And I go, "Yeah, of course." So I go to Miami, and they double booked me with this really talented comedian, Steve Trevino. Steve is Mexican. Steve brings an opener, DJ Cooch. Shout out to DJ Cooch. DJ Cooch is Mexican, and the opener is Ricky Cruz. He's Cuban. So there's an entire Latino show with one person who's supposed to close the show, me. I go last, and my name just happens to sound like a hate crime. Especially to a bunch of people who can roll their R's. Bert Kreischer. It sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I do the first show Thursday. No one's really there. It's fine, right? Not that bad.
Right.
I kind of survive. It's cool. Everyone does okay. First show Friday, I remember Pitbull was in the audience. And I was like, oh, cool, man. Can't wait to meet Pitbull. He's going to be my boy. He's going to see me do stand-up. He's going to love me.
Yeah.
I go up. I had a collared shirt on. This is before I was taking my shirt off. And I started bombing so hard that I started getting flop sweat. And it dripped off my nose and it landed on my navy blue shirt and it got darker and the whole room went, oh.
He's sweating.
I bombed for 1 hour. For 1 hour.
Just quiet?
Dead silent. We had 2 shows. I bombed the second show just as bad. Just as bad.
Yeah.
I used to, at the time, I'd take my shirt off and then put it back on. And I just was like, I mean, it was like I'd take my shirt off in silence. And then I'd slowly put it back on like a male stripper no one ordered. Just slowly dressing like a one-night stand we both regretted.
Oh, God.
And then on Saturday, I was lost. And Leanne showed up like Friday night. She was like, how's it going? I was like, fuck off. And Saturday I go, that won't happen again. And I just was very candid with myself. I was like, there is a language barrier here. Like no one in this audience was speaking English.
Okay.
Like it was either you were either Haitian or African American or Bayesian or Cuban or Puerto Rican or Venezuelan, but there was no collective unconscious with us that we all remembered the same stuff growing up, especially with me.
Yeah.
Like when I remember Steve had a joke about chunkless and it's like a flip flop, I guess.
I don't even know what that
I don't even know
is.
what the fuck it is. But he said chunkla and the place went goddamn bananas. I go, what the fuck's a chunkla? I'm not going to do well.
God.
Yeah. I was like, did you guys watch The Real World? Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Yeah.
So I said, I got on stage and just was like, I real slowly, I put a table on stage. I had Steve say, I go, Steve, you got to tell them I'm okay. Like you've got to bring me on stage
Right.
and say, I'm your friend. He's really
Vouch
funny.
for me.
Let them give me a chance.
Yeah.
So Steve brought me on, gave my name like with a little bit of Spanish swing. Bert Kreischer. I bring a table on stage and 3 stools and a bottle of tequila. And I go, all right, I've been performing here for 2 nights and I am not doing well. And I said, quite honestly, I think there's a language barrier. So I would like to bring translators on stage to translate my jokes. I said, I need a Cuban guy, like really Cuban guy.
Yeah.
And then this dude comes up and he's got like a Guayabera on and he sits down. I go, I need like the blackest black dude in here. I need gold fronts. I need a Zopound black motherfucker.
Yeah.
This black dude gets up. I said, awesome, gentlemen, let's make a cocktail. And the room's kind of like fun. And they're like, what's going on? I pour a drink and I said, all right, here's our first joke. I was talking to a young lady at a bar. And this guy goes, man, I come in this guy like, and the place goes bananas. And the black guy goes, can a player get some conversation? And the place goes crazy. And it was like so of the moment and everything. I mean, I was like, and then it just became the 3 of us. I'm just doing crowd work with these 2 dudes. I was like, do you know the best way to eat pussy? And the black guy would be like, no, I don't do that shit. And then the one guy goes, oh, you put your lips right next to it and you go, brrr. I mean, it was so fun.
Yeah.
And I was like, and so I did that for 4 nights. And then I started doing that every night on the road. Anything I did was wild and crazy. Because I was like, dude, I just want to kill so hard.
How'd you come up with that idea to have those guys up there?
I was defeated.
You just didn't know what else to do.
I was-
It was a lifeline, throwing something out.
I remember making a joke and this guy going like this. And I said, what is that? And he goes, I'm going to beat you with a baseball bat. And I was like, and I remember going, you must be Dominican. Yeah. And no one laughed. And I was like, oh, I don't think they know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But it was like, and then I got a reputation at the Miami Improv for being the wildest guy that they'd ever had on stage.
Because of having the guys up there?
Oh, and then I brought gangbangers on stage. I brought a whole gang from a neighborhood right next to him on stage. We drank tequila. I would just like, when I went there, I was like, the room determines the energy.
Right.
And like you can go to Omaha and you can allow the room to help you determine the energy, but in that room, it determined the energy.
Yeah.
It's the same as doing like an urban club. It's like if you're a really white guy, now it's different for me. I can just do my act and there's a lot of similarities in our lives is that, you know, I think anyone that goes, okay, I get what happened in your life, but then you were like, you had to, it was like a chi, like where you had to like kind of take their energy and use it with them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that's a tough position to be in, but it seems like the promoter or the club manager would know. I mean, he's asking you to come in to close. He should have known, right?
No. I remember we had 2 gangbangers in the front row, and I went to the manager that night. I said, hey, can you have them removed? And he said, they have weapons on them, so I'm not going to say anything. And I was like, wait, hang on. How am I supposed to deal with them? He was like, I don't know.
Okay, so you're on your own.
Oh, I remember I just brought them on stage, and they showed their dicks.
Did they?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess that works.
One dude's name was Ray. I still think about that guy. He had the biggest dick. I think he was in Bang Bus. I'm not certain, but I think he might have been in Bang Bus.
I love that series.
I was obsessed with that series. I was obsessed.
What was like? So you said like no cultural type connection, but like growing up, who was the hottest like movie star girl? Was it like Pamela Anderson, or like do you remember, or was it? Remember Fast Times at Ridgemont High?
Oh, yeah.
The girl getting out of the pool.
The thing I think I realized is like when I started meeting gay people, I didn't understand what it was like to be gay. Like I was just like, I kind of thought it was a choice. Mm-hmm. And then I remember talking to a gay dude that I worked with about the first guy he saw that he realized he was gay. Mm-hmm. And I remembered the first girl I saw where I knew undeniably I was straight. And it was Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman.
Linda Carter.
Oh, yeah.
When they'd tie her up,
oh, no.
I was like, dude, I'm done. I'm done. Like, and I remember being probably
she's black hair, kind of blue eyes.
Oh,
right?
Gorgeous. Kind of a weird underbite a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like a little bit of an overbite with beautiful body. Overbite.
Yeah.
She was, underbite would be weird. Just, I'm Wonder Woman.
Not as hot.
No.
No.
Linda Carter. And then progressively it was like the one girl from the Bugaloos. Do you remember the Bugaloos? It was an early morning Saturday show.
No.
But I was like, oh, I remember talking to this dude. His name was Andrew. I was like, oh, wait. I remember when I found out I was straight. And he goes, it's the same thing. And I went, oh, that's interesting. And then I was like, wow, that's crazy that I could have been just dudes and I wouldn't have been able to stop it.
Oh, that'd be rough.
It would have been rough for our age. Yeah. I mean, now kids, it's easier for kids, you know, to do. I think kids, especially in LA, kids are a lot more fluid with their gender and their sexuality. But our age, you would never. I mean, it was a tough hang.
Did you ever see Wild Things? I think it's like Denise Richardson.
Yeah.
And
one of the best kisses ever.
Who was the girl with the black hair?
Neve Campbell.
Oh my goodness. That was a fan favorite there, wasn't it?
Dude, I was just telling someone about the other day about how hard it was when our generation to jerk off. And I was like, you'd have a movie that you had seen nudity in with your parents that you guys owned, and you'd be like, all right, when they leave, I go to 24 minutes into Flashdance, and I watch that scene.
Flashdance?
Oh, my God.
I don't remember that.
Dude, Flashdance was like...
Oh, Flashdance! Oh, with the leg
Jennifer
warmers
Beals and the leg warmers, and then they had the scene in Flashdance. This is how much I jerked off to it. Is when she finds out that her cousin.
This reminds me of a painting in a bathroom for somebody else.
You have to send me the video when you talk about that. You have to send me the video.
But go ahead. Yeah.
No, her cousin works at the strip club. She's like just a bartender, or works at the dancing club, but is just a bartender.
Yeah.
And then she gets a real good job working for the cheesy dudes at a strip club. And she goes in and gets her out. But there's so much tits flying around that I'd go to that part in Flashdance and be like, oh, it's on.
You know who else I thought was... I don't even know how a girl could get hotter. Was Grease? What was her name?
Olivia Newton-John.
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Yeah, that the fair scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the craziest thing about Olivia Newton-John? Her husband fake killed himself.
To get away from her?
I don't know.
No, I didn't know that.
He like went out in a boat and was like, I died. And then they found him or something. And he was like,
Yeah.
I guess I didn't die.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was smoking hot.
Dude, when she comes out at the end of that movie in those
With the
tight leather pants.
Yeah.
You better wake up, because I need a man. I need a man.
Man,
Dude,
that was good.
I used to get depressed when I was a kid. That when I'd look at like hot chicks like that
Yeah.
and go, I may never get that.
Right.
And then I remember the first hot chick that I got that was like that. And I remember being like, I thought it'd be better.
Who was it? Who was a girl?
The first, like legit, I mean,
Was it after the Rolling Stones article?
no. It was before. The first hot chick that I was like, I can't believe I got her.
Yeah. Was your wife?
Oh, no, the girl I lost my virginity to.
Oh,
She's
really?
like the hottest girl in school.
How'd that work?
I have no fucking clue. I honestly don't know how she got. I don't
You know
even
what?
remember
If
meeting
you're
her.
funny, if you're funny, that's a big deal for girls.
Yeah.
Girls like to laugh.
Yeah,
I don't know if you were funny at that time.
I was not. I was so serious. I was
Yeah.
like painfully serious.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how we ended up starting dating, but I remember they were like, yo, she's into you. And she was the hottest girl. And I was like, shut up.
But that helps even after that, because then you've like set the standard, and then other girls are like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. I had okay. My first girlfriend in probably like 8th grade. I mean, to this day, I look back and she was like, she came in from a different school and she was like so different looking, so hot, just blonde hair, really tan. And I remember being like, God, I remember pining for her. And then we started dating and I was like, shut up. I think I've been like that almost with every girl I've ever dated.
Yeah.
Where I was like, I didn't think I could get her. Oh yeah. There was a chick on a TV show that I did. I did a TV show. And I remember before I got cast on the TV show, they showed the TV show and she was on it. And I was like, can you imagine dating her? Like, that's gotta be so awesome. Mm-hmm. And then I did. And I was like, okay. It was a lot more complicated than I thought it would be.
How so?
It's just,
She's nuts.
no, she was awesome. She was awesome. Just like working with someone. I never heard the term "don't shit where you eat."
Yeah.
The first time I heard it, I was already hooking up with 2 girls on my TV show.
Oh, okay.
And they're like, hey, just don't shit where you eat. And I go, what's that mean? And they're like, don't have sex with anyone here. I was like, okay, just hypothetically,
Yeah.
what if I was?
Right.
But I never had sex with her, but I remember hooking up with her. And
I
like,
thought that was having sex.
no, I know. I'm different. I was always very like prudish.
Okay.
Like I wouldn't have sex. I would hook up, get a blowjob. I was cool with that. But like sex, I've only been with like 6 chicks.
Yeah.
Because I was always like, yo, I want to make sure that like I'm not that good at this. I don't want
Yeah.
you to tell people.
Right. I don't know how we got on that, but it is, Wild Things, Wonder Woman,
Wonder Woman, our first chicks.
Olivia Newton-John. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other ones back in the day.
Oh, I mean, it didn't take much. It didn't take much because I was like,
Carmen Electra was pretty hot too. Remember that?
dude, I'll tell you, like especially when you meet them in person,
Yeah.
and they're like way hotter than you'd think. Oh my God, I remember meeting Christy Mack, porn star, on our at one of our shows, and I was like, oh my God, she's absolutely beautiful. Adriana Chechik came and did a porn star, came and did something with Tom and I. Tom and I were both like she's legit perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And you're just like, I can't believe they make people like that.
Yeah. It seems like a different species.
Oh, and if you have to be willing to accept some things if you're going to see my body naked. You're not going to be like, you can't be like, I hold myself to this standard. You got to be like, I'm cool
You're
with,
going to make some exceptions.
you're like, I'm cool with seeing a belt indentation into his body. No, I don't need a big dick. A long one's good.
Yeah. It's not very long, but also not very big around.
Yeah.
But other than that,
I'm really into a grower, not a shower.
well, who's the Okay, so that's the girls. Who's the coolest famous guy you've met? Because I know you like celebrities, right?
I love
Aren't
celebrities.
you addicted to celebrity?
I'm not addicted. That's an easy way to put it. Celebrity, I am easily impressed by celebrity.
Yeah,
I
okay.
am easily impressed by celebrity.
So who's your favorite, I guess, male now?
I mean, honestly, like there's two of them that I've become friends with, and I say friends loosely, but like
You're
number
best
one,
friends with them, they just don't know it.
like if I called them, if I FaceTimed them, they might answer.
Who?
Snoop. I love Snoop, but like I was terrified to meet him.
Yeah.
Oh my God, because it's Snoop.
I know.
It's Snoop. And I remember practicing meeting him to Tommy, and Tom's like, stop. He's like, stop.
Practicing.
I was like, so I'll be like, hey, what's up? You ever hear about my story about getting the rest of your mama? And Tom's like, don't do this. Don't do this. He's like, I go, but I know I can be a lot. Like I can be a lot.
Yeah.
And I know that I can be a lot. And I go, I don't want to like scare him off.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Tom's like, just be yourself. And I was like, it's going to look gross. He's like, just be gross.
What do you mean be like?
I just do things that like normal people wouldn't do.
Right.
Like you saw me around people today. I
Yeah.
say things sometimes that are a little aggressive. And then people are like, hey, have you thought about maybe going to church on Sunday? Because you said some wild shit. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
Like
I get it.
I say, and I just was
But
like.
it's entertaining.
It's, well.
In the right crowd.
Some people are not fans. I've had a lot of people that are not fans.
Yeah.
And so like Snoop was a big one. And then we went to dinner with a group of people, and I was talking pretty wild, and Snoop was like looking at me, like trying to figure me out.
Yeah.
And he just FaceTimed someone, and he goes, hang on. And he turned it, and he goes, you know that guy? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, is he cool? And the guy goes, yeah. And he goes, cool. He's like, you're cool.
Okay.
I was like,
Yeah. Luckily, he called the right person.
Red Grant. Shout out to Red Grant.
Saved your ass.
Yeah, saved my ass. And then Shaq was probably the one that I idolized Shaq. I think he's just one of the coolest dudes. I heard so many stories about him because I grew up in Florida and he played for the Magic. Mm-hmm. We knew so much about Shaq and just how kind of involved of a dude he is. Like he just is like.
I like how grounded he is. I mean, his dad was in the military. He's like says, I'm rich. My kids aren't rich. He made the shoes that were affordable.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of attributes.
Everything about him is cool. And he's friends with Charles Barkley and they bust balls.
Yeah.
Like I love Shaq. And I got invited to do his podcast. And I was like, by this time I'd met enough celebrities where I was like, all right, you just got to be yourself. And if they don't like you, then it's not a huge loss. It just stinks. Mm-hmm. And I remember they were asking me, they were like, said something. I go, yeah. Like I have wild theories. I said some of them today, but like I have wild theories that I just casually will say, yeah, I think that, but whatever. I'm also working on a joke about it. But then there's like, and I casually said like, I don't like showers. Like I don't like to shower. Mm-hmm. And Shaq went like this. And I said, yeah, I take like pool baths. Mm-hmm. And Shaq goes, I take pool baths. I said, really? And the guy that was with us was like, oh my God, is this happening? And Shaq goes, are we becoming best friends? And I said, I think so. And he goes, I take pool baths. And then we started breaking down all our weirdo-ness. And by the end of it, he was like, we need to do a movie together.
Really?
And I was like, done. And I go, Shaq, that's all you had to say. So we got to shout out to Shaq. We're working on something right now. Yeah. I mean, he's like the best. I mean, I called him on stage one time. I called him on stage, FaceTime him on stage. And I'm in an arena, and I'm on the Jumbotron.
Did he pick up?
He was taking a shit.
Oh my God.
He's like, I'm taking a shit right now. What do you need? And I was like, oh, Shaq, you're on stage. He goes, man, what's up? Shaq's the best. Shaq's the best. Whoa. They don't get better than Shaq.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's funny. What the funniest thing to me is like I'm watching people meet Joe. Because now Joe's legit, like one of the most.
Everybody knows Joe Rogan somehow.
Everyone
heard the name, knows something about him, have heard of him.
Especially when you do it to your family.
Yeah.
And you introduce your family who know you really well. They know you as a regular person. Mm-hmm. And then you introduce, like I introduced my dad to Joe. And my dad's like, he knew who he was. He knew obviously, but it's like thing that Joe had already moved to Austin. It was like Joe was at the top of his game, signed the big deal.
Yeah.
And we went to Brigham's place to get stem cells. And I brought my dad because he's got a bad knee. And Joe comes in, and Joe's Joe. You know, he's a little bit of a storm of like, hey, what's up? You know, how you doing?
Yeah.
Shakes my dad's hand, and you can just see my dad is watching. Like, he's watching. And then Joe and I were going to leave. My parents were going somewhere else, and Joe and I are going to leave. And my dad goes, he's got a big fucking hand. I said, yeah. He goes, that's fucking muscle, buddy. That's like, you can't get that just working out for a year. You got to work out your whole fucking life.
Right. He's impressed.
I go, he's a strong guy. He goes, he's a strong guy. And let me tell you something. He's a good friend. Don't ever lose him. I said, really? And he goes, he likes you. He cares about you. He's like, you can always tell if someone's your friend or not your friend from the outside as a parent. And he goes, he's a good friend. Don't ever lose him. I was like, don't worry, Dad.
Well, so Joe won over your dad, basically.
Oh, but Joe
in
just,
like a second.
Yeah, Joe just is. He's just Joe also is a very regular person. Doesn't talk about like wild shit and talks about, you know, just is him. He's just him, and my dad likes that. And I think, you know, we were talking about that earlier. It's like you meet some of these celebrities and they're regular people. You know, it's like Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
I was busting his balls privately to you. I go, he pulled up in a fucking Malibu to your house.
I know it.
That makes me want to do ayahuasca, so I stopped caring what car I drive.
Yeah, he's very grounded.
He's very grounded. And when I met Aaron, I mean, I had sent a text of like, hey, I'm doing the arena in Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, if you want to get dinner, it's got to be either before 7 or after 10. And he just DM'd me, and he's like, are you trolling me? And I called Tommy. I go, Aaron Rodgers just DM'd me. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
And he was like, hold on. He goes, just tell him you're a fan and you just wanted him to come to your show.
Yeah.
And so I wrote back, hey man, I'm a huge fan, not trolling. I'd love you if you can come to my show. I'd love to, you know, say hi. And Aaron's like, I got plans tonight, but I'll come by before. And I was like, okay. I'm like, you're the quarterback. You're one of the best quarterbacks ever.
Yeah.
And you're just going to come by. And sure enough, man, Aaron Rodgers comes over with wet hair, knocks on our bus door, sits down like the most regular guy. There's a camera rolling, and he proceeds to tell things that honestly, like, you know, I'm not saying he told like secrets, but like talked very candidly about anything. And I was like, hey, can we turn the cameras off? This is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And he just sat with us for a while, and then he was like, and you know, and he was very just like the most normal dude.
Yeah.
And then he's like, I got some of my linemen coming tonight. You can take care of them? And I was like, yeah. He's like, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And then he left.
Yeah.
And then, you know, texted with him a couple times, I think. But his life got wild. And I was like, I'm not going to be the guy.
Yeah.
It's crazy because he's got 2 A's in his name. So he's the first name in my phone book.
Oh, I see.
Anytime I open my phone book, first name is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, he was the best when he showed up here, and then he knocked on the door. My family's like, fucking Aaron Rodgers is knocking on the front door.
What you guys don't understand is that Eugene is really a small town. And so everyone kind of knows everyone a little bit. Like as we're driving by, people are waving to you in other cars. And like, I am not Aaron Rodgers, but I will definitely say I feel famous in this city.
You are.
And I can only imagine what it must be like to have Aaron Rodgers here because, and he's so regular.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I'm like, hey, you know, I know you got the Achilles thing, but do you want to hike the mountain? He's like, yeah, it's snowing. He's like, yeah, let's do it. I mean, down for anything.
Yeah.
Freaking stud. And then like they had a good win, I think, on the road. And, you know, it's been a while since the Jets have been decent. And they won on the road. I think it was against the Titans. And so I just texted him. I said, hey, great job, great win. And he text back, thanks, buddy. I mean, NFL star. He's like such a stud. And just like regular person.
He said to me, he was like, we should hang out. And I was like, yeah. He goes, I'm in California half of the year.
Yeah.
He was like, I'd love to go to the beach with you and your wife and my girlfriend. And I was like, yeah, let me get a fucking smock for my wife. I was like, I'm not going to walk around with my wife with your dime chick and your body. Me and my wife just look like your fucking handlers while your chef let himself go. I told that it was a joke. It's a joke, obviously, you know. This is why Hassan Minaj's fans didn't like me.
Right.
But he laughed, and then I was like, But I just also, it's the thing we were talking about earlier about people who don't have a problem asking for things. Like I'm not that guy.
Right.
So like in a weird way, I don't really don't really burn the relationship with Aaron, but I kind of burn it because I don't reach out. I'll never reach out because I go, I don't want to bother him.
Yeah.
You know, like if he reached out to me, I'd be like blown away. I'd be like, oh, how cool, man. Mm-hmm. But like, I make a friend and then I go, I don't want to bother you.
Right.
I remember, you know, but yeah, and I would never ask Aaron Rodgers for tickets or.
No, shit, I could never do that.
I could never do that.
No, it's, I think we're about the same in that regard. Yeah. You just appreciate like the experience or the friendship or the interaction just so much, and you just don't want to fuck it up, or I don't. And it seems like you're the same way,
dude. I get a little territorial sometimes, and only because I've been around for so long that when you like when you watch people ask Joe for things, and I've seen it go so fucking wrong. But I go like, why? Just stop. Just either be his friend or don't be his friend. There can be no ulterior motive of your friendship with him. Yeah. And I've seen it happen to other people. I've seen that happen to a lot of celebrities where they all of a sudden they're like, they don't really give a shit about you when you're not famous, and then when you're famous, they're like, oh hey man, I'm such a big fan. Or the one that drives me nuts is when people, you can tell they've gotten ready for a conversation with the celebrity, and they're like kind of like lining things up to like it's very easy to do with Joe when you're like someone's sitting in the green room and they're like a young comic and they're like, so Joe, man, I was researching aliens the other day, and Joe gets so excited. He's like, let me tell you. And you're like, fucking dick. Yeah. Just let him be himself.
I know. It's I've seen that, and heard people like talking to him going like, say for example, if I was on your podcast, and I'm just like,
oh dude,
God, don't do this.
I have the most uncomfortable one I've ever been a part of. And this is like what, I don't know if Joe would want me to tell the story, but Joe does, one of the things I dearly admire in Joe is he does not mind confrontation. Mm-hmm. And I do not like confrontation. Yeah. And I watched the conversation go down one time. That's all I'll say. Where Joe, I've never seen someone end a marriage more concisely. Like the way he told this person that they were not friends was so pinpoint accurate. Ooh. It was so, and when he turned back to talk to me, my face was doing this.
Yeah. And he was I wish I had that ability.
I wish I had it too.
It's like, I don't know what it is, but yeah. Just cut to the chase and just like, boom.
Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, it's tough. It's so tough. But yeah, I definitely admire that quality because, sometimes that's what it takes.
Yeah. I definitely, I want to make everyone happy, and I want to take care of everyone. I want to make sure that, so I overextend myself like crazy when I totally shouldn't.
I had a sponsor that was like, asked me for Joe's number. Oh. And I'm just like, so they're not a sponsor anymore. I'm like, this isn't how this works. No. I would never fucking give. I don't know. It's just, that kind of stuff just irritates me. Just because I wouldn't even ask, like I said, I've never even asked for tickets to a UFC fight from him. It's just like, I just don't. It's like he's got so many people that want shit from him. Or they're talking to you, trying to find a way to weasel their way into his podcast somehow. Just like through, you get people like, I don't even know how they approach it, but you know what they're up to.
Oh, yeah. I can tell you exactly how it goes down. Yeah. Hey, Bert, I'd love to do the podcast. I go, cool. Let's do it. I'll set you over my people. And they're like, great. And then I go, hey, did we schedule that person? They're like, yeah, but they don't want to do Bertcast. They want to be a guest bear. Mm-hmm. I go, okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, so my podcast isn't good enough for them. They want to be a part of my other podcast. Yeah. Which, I get it. If you're having if you have something to promote, Two Bears is bigger than Bertcast. I get it. Bigger than maybe Something's Burning. I get it. But it is interesting that, and I go, okay, cool. And then inevitably, they always come with, hey, do I have Joe's regular? I don't know what number I have for Joe. And I was like, really? And they're like, yeah, did he change his number? And I want to go, well, If you're his friend, you know it changes every 8 months.
Right.
You know you always get a new text from Joe. But I go, I don't know, man. Which one do you got? And then they tell, and I always go, oh, yeah, that's it. He's weird with replying.
Yeah.
And it's never the good number.
Yeah.
And they're like, hey, can you, you're going down to Austin anytime soon? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm going down once a month. If you see Joe, you just tell him that I put in a good word for me. And I was like, yeah.
Yeah. It's, or they'll ask how he, how does he select his, or could you mention or whatever? And I'm like, no, because if he wants you on, you'll know.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have a reason? What's your reason?
Dude,
why would he care?
He's the most curious man in the world, and if he's curious about you, you'll find out.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
And if you're not, then you're. I had a publicist one time that I hired. I hired this publicist a long time ago, just so we're clear. If my current publicist is listening, I had a publicist who was like, so when the ... came out, we're really happy about it. We're really happy about it. We've got a lot of things planned. We want you to do late night. We haven't booked it yet. We want you to do late night. We want you to do Good Morning America. We want you to do everything. And obviously, can you get yourself on Rogan? And I go, well, yeah, I'll call Joe. And they're like, great. Actually, can you give us his number? And I went, excuse me?
Yeah.
And they're like, we would love to have him. Because we don't have any contact with him. And, he obviously would be a big guest for us to get our clients on. And I was like, did you just take my $6,000 a week or whatever it costs for a fucking publicist? Did you just take that money and ask me to get you the biggest podcaster in the world's info so you can book your... I was like, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. And then I fired them, and I just called Joe, and I go, hey, can I get on your podcast? He's like, yeah. I was like, fucking... And then it's just...
Yeah, that's... I don't know. Nothing turns me off more. I don't know why. I mean, and I in some ways I get it. I get because people are thinking, if I could get on that podcast, it would change my life. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand, but I don't know. It's just a weird thing, I guess.
Just if you're wondering, but wait, I want to get on the podcast. How do I do it? It's so easy. Be undeniable.
Yeah, that's what it takes. I mean, that's all I've told people is like, when you're the best at whatever you do, he's probably going to reach out.
Listen, there is a gentleman who wrote a book about the Native Americans in Oklahoma and Texas called something of the Summer Moon, who is
Empire
of the Summer Moon.
Yeah.
And you know what? He didn't care about getting on Rogan. He just cared about writing the best fucking book he could.
Exactly.
And he got on Rogan.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, but that's a hard path.
It is. Oh, yeah.
It's much easier to be like, hey, could you get me hooked up with Joe to ask?
God.
Yeah. But, so any other good celebrity? So we got Snoop, we got Shaq.
Yeah.
Who's your other go-to favorite? I know Jelly Roll's got to be in there.
I don't see Jelly's the same as Joe. I know he's extremely famous.
I love Jelly Roll.
I love Jelly, but I don't like. I kind of just see him.
Yeah.
As my buddy. Like it's the same as Tom. I don't really see Tom as famous. I don't see what's wild is like I don't see Tony Hawk as famous as he is. Now I didn't meet Tony before he was famous, but he's just such a nice, sweet guy that when he was at my house one time and he left and my daughters saw him and they were like, was that fucking Tony Hawk? And I went, yeah. And they're like, you know Tony Hawk? And I was like, wait, you care that I know Tony Hawk?
Yeah.
They're like, Dad. But like, I think fame for me had to have happened before I was famous for me to be blown away by it.
Right.
Like you had to be someone like Eminem would be crazy to meet. Like, that's how it works. Like Jelly, I knew Jelly before he was famous. And
you did?
Yeah. I've been friends with him.
How?
Just through the internet. I saw him on something. I thought he was dope and I hit him up.
Did he have the tattoo, the cross tattoo at that time?
I couldn't even tell you because we did a podcast a while back. I mean, he was already like on his path. He was in Nashville and like there was like, you guys got to meet. You guys are the same fucking person. Everyone said, you guys got to meet. You're the same fucking person. Both you guys are identical. And so he came over one day and we did a podcast and we just clicked. And then and it's like, it's so funny because I just had someone ask me about my friendship with Jelly Roll, and I go, we're actually legit friends. Like you were with us at the 5K.
Yeah.
We had like a very heartfelt moment of you know, of whatever stupid idea. Like I said, I think of a lot of stupid ideas, and I say them out loud sometimes. Sometimes they work. 2 Bears 5K just happened to be a stupid idea that worked.
That was amazing, dude.
And it sold.
It was amazing.
Crazy for the middle of an afternoon.
So fun.
It was so fun.
That energy was, I mean, in the Rose Bowl, it was
wild.
That was one of the funnest things I've done.
Oh, and then I appreciate you guys coming out. It was so, I mean, you guys are like legends in the running community to all us legit like runners who've run races.
Yeah.
And and you being there, and then Jelly had your shoes on, and he was like and he kept looking for you, but that's who he is. It's like he's a very real person.
He's the best. He's like, I remember I went to the Opry to watch him play because I hadn't seen him play. So like looking for dates and when it would work, and it was like in November, I think, last year, and he's like, I said, well, you're playing at the Opry. I looked at his schedule and I said I could come there, and he's like, well, it's not really like one of my shows, but yeah. You know, not like his stadium show or whatever, big show. So I went, and it's like the next day, he's like, hey, we're going to go, and you want to get lunch before you fly out? He goes, because I got your book. I want you to sign it. And so he brought my, Endure for me to sign. He's like, yeah, I'm going to put this up with my gold records at his house or whatever. And he's like, this means, and I'm like, what a fucking, I mean, just a pure soul. He's such a good guy.
He's, I mean, I don't, I really wish I'm very seldomly at a loss of words, but with a guy like him, I've said this before, but it's me, him, Leanne, and Bunny aren't supposed to be the couple that looks good together on paper.
Right,
we're all from such different parts.
Yep.
But for whatever reason, me and him are almost the exact same person. Very different walks of life, very different opportunities given to us. But wherever we landed at, we're a very similar person. And Bunny and Leanne, I mean, I think they probably had similar trauma growing up in life. But Bunny and Leanne are wildly close.
Really?
We were just texting, the four of us are in a chat thread. And we were just texting yesterday about, I was just texting them, how people feel about them, because we were in Nashville and people were talking.
Yeah,
people were casually, not knowing that I'm friends with them, just talking about them.
Right.
And I was like, yo, you guys got to know, you got
making
love
an impact
all over here,
making an impact.
I love Jelly, man, and we're just very similar dudes. I think we have the same thing where we feel very lucky to be where we are. I think we're some of those people that under promise, over deliver, and I think. Like, we're just like, every day is like a gift. And he's always shown up for any time I had a big show. I mean, he's shown up for me. He's shown up for me more than I've shown up for him. That's for certain.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's, it's crazy. He's just the best. I love him to death. It's crazy that I'm really never lost words, but for whatever reason, Jelly's just one of those guys, and he's inspiring to me because what he's doing with his weight loss is like, I've been overweight. I know how hard it is to focus on the road.
Yeah.
We were talking about the other day, when all the good things are happening to you, and you got the new special and the movie and the arena tour and a world tour, and you're doing Australia and you're doing Europe, and all these opportunities are coming to you, you want to celebrate and you just want to get after it.
Yeah.
For me, it's booze and food, and it's hard to put guardrails on.
Yeah.
And my life got away from me. And when things started happening for Jelly, I think he probably, I know he saw me at my fattest, and he was like, yo, I got another 50 years of great life to live, and I need to earn those 50 years.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy for him that he's the things he says are real things. I watch the videos. He's really moving every day. He's in those arenas, and buddy, I used to do that too. When you'd walk those arenas, I'd walk up and down those steps every morning, cup of coffee, walk around the arena, jog in circles around the arenas. And I know that he's like really focused on longevity, and I'm just so happy for him.
Yeah, he does the cold plunge every day.
He does the cold plunge. Yeah.
I know it's. What struck me the most is we did that. We went to Oregon State Penitentiary, and it was his day off. He just started this 51 city tour. Played Portland the night before, killed it, had a day off before we went to California. It's like we set up this prison visit. And so he went there, put on the show. Hadn't had live music there in 20 years. And then afterwards, I was like, hey, I said, they need to know how long you can like meet inmates or sign stuff. And, you know, I know you got to fly out of here. And he's like, we're going to talk to every inmate. I mean, there's hundreds. He goes, so however long it takes. I'm like, in between this tour that is just his third stop was Portland, just started this huge whatever tour, exhausting, I would imagine, to perform 51 times. And he's willing to spend however hours meeting these inmates. If you don't know anything about him, if you just know that, that's all you need to know. That's the type of person he is. That's incredible.
That is the guy. That is the guy who looks in the rearview mirror and goes, that could have been me.
Yeah.
He is grateful for his experience. He is grateful for the people around him. He's grateful for the gifts he can give to people. He's just grateful. That guy wakes up, you know, he wakes up in gratitude.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, like, I think that's why we get along so well, is like we're both just going like, can you fucking believe this?
Yeah. Yeah.
When we did Bridgestone,
That's in Nashville, right?
it's not, yes,
Yeah.
I think it's where the Predators play.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, it doesn't get bigger than Bridgestone in Nashville. I'm sure it does. I take that back. It totally does. It totally does. And Jelly asked me, he goes, hey, man, one time he goes casually, he goes, hey, would you bring me on stage tonight? And I was like, I wish I could, buddy. I got to show it to Zany's. I'm kind of getting ready for my new hour. I want to run it one time. He's like, oh, that stinks. I would love to have had you there. I said, yeah, where are you performing? And he goes, Titans Stadium. And I went, I go, open with that. I can move my schedule around. Jesus Christ, Jelly. You told me it's fucking Titan Stadium.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when I did Bridgestone, he came backstage. And he comes. I think we had lunch that afternoon, and then he comes backstage, and I was dressed up, and he's like, and he's just so proud of me. He's like, "You look great, man." And then he came on stage with me that night. Yeah, I love that guy.
Yeah.
I fucking love that guy.
How does it feel to be who you are, be where you are in life? What does it feel real or what? Or are you used to it now?
It doesn't feel real. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Because you mentioned all these people you know and all these connections and like, you know, all this opportunity, and you know that people talk about imposter syndrome or whatever that is.
Yeah.
But it's like, I know, to me, as I was explaining earlier to you, it doesn't feel like I deserve to not have a regular job. You know what I mean? Like people like me, I say they need to work. How do you feel about it?
I feel the exact same way. I feel like I was saying it to you. I was like, I feel like my career's over. I'm done. No one's gonna remember me in a year.
Yeah.
I'm like, how arrogant am I to think I could take a year off from stand up? How arrogant. I'm not better than like. But it also comes from my dad had that mentality of eat shit, cash checks. And that was the way he looked at life. And he was like, dude, you're lucky to have a fucking job. People dig ditches for a living.
Yeah.
And so, but in the entertainment business, there is a value to scarcity. And there is a value to not overexposing yourself.
Right.
And I think I was so shocked that any of this happened to me that I was like, bro, burn it at both ends.
Right.
I used to say a phrase, I'm gonna eat this cow's hoofs, ass, and horns. I'm gonna eat the whole fucking thing.
Well, you can.
Yeah, and make hay while the sun shines. And I just was like, dude, you can't put enough on my plate. I'll do it all. But I think ultimately I'm shocked. I definitely deal with imposter syndrome, but I'm shocked that anyone wants to talk to me on a podcast ever. I'm shocked that anyone wants to hear me on stage. I'm shocked that people know me. I'm always shocked that people like me.
Did you see the kid at the coffee shop today? He locked up, dude.
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah. It was like he had a stroke. He went.
And then I was like looking. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then he's like, are you Bert Kreischer, or is that Bert Kreischer? It's like whatever it was, but yeah, you definitely have. I mean, you're a star.
I don't know about star.
You're a star. I mean, when people are locked up looking at you, you're a star, dude.
It does. I'll tell you what doesn't suck is when people say, and you get this like, you know, you say you get recognized 10 times and maybe you'll get it twice. Is people just go, hey man, you really helped me through a tough time. and then you'll be like, you end up dialing into that person. You're like, for real?
Yeah.
And they're like, the pandemic was bad for me. And I said this, I had this bit that I was working on stage about who in here wakes up liking themselves? And like half the room raised their hands. I was like, really? And I was like, you don't just wake up going, you piece of shit. You probably had a stroke last night. See if you can smile. Like, and I started doing this bit about how punitive I can be with myself.
Yeah.
Because I think my punitiveness is what motivates me. You didn't fucking deserve the today. Get out of bed. Get in the gym. You fat fuck. You got drunk last night on the plane. You're gonna tell everyone you didn't have a martini at that, but you did have a martini. I did tell you I had a martini.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, you got your vape pen next to your bed? Oh, you piece of shit. Get the fuck. And I was trying to do a bit out of it. We was in Vegas. It was recently, and I was like, and it did okay. But I got this very long text from this guy. He was like, hey man, I was at your Vegas show. It was awesome. I just want to tell you that bit you have, you're off. He was like, you should feel great about yourself. And this is why. And he wrote me a paragraph that Leanne read to me. And at the end, I was bawling, crying. And I'm an easy crier. I cry a lot. Now that I'm 50, I don't know what the fuck happened to me. I can cry on the drop of a hat. And he was like, my daughter was having a hard time during the pandemic, and you're special. It's the only thing that bring her joy. And we watched The Cabin together, and we started deep diving you and everything. And if we're ever in a bad place, and even, it was like a paragraph, like a long page. And then I'm like, that's when you go, oh yeah, this is like, this comedy can totally help people get out of places. It's helped me get out of places.
Yeah.
And especially podcasts, dude. And I told you when we were talking about this at breakfast, and I was like, sometimes I wonder as a comic, if I post myself in the gym, is this performative? What am I doing this for?
Right.
And then you're like, well, I wonder that too. And I was like, no. You don't understand what you do for me. Like I'm laying in bed feeling like a piece of shit, going like, oh, way to go. You wanted blue cheese stuffed olives last night. You threw them up in your throat while you slept. Time to get on the treadmill, and I'll pull you up, and I'll see you running 12 miles on a lunch break, or I'll see you running up to the top of that mountain, or I'll see you doing stuff. And I do that with you, with Jocko, with David Goggins, with Joe, I do it with Nate Florence. I do it with Kia Rothman. I do it with Koa Rothman. I do it with all these guys that are just inspirational for me. That's the purpose you serve. Whether or not you love what your purpose is for, but you inspire people to get out of bed and do something, because so many people aren't. And then you go, okay, so then compartmentalize that. There's a need to post. I get it. But maybe the thing I need to do online, and I'm trying to figure this out by pulling back a little bit online, is I just got to remind people that I got to put them in a good mood. My job is to make them laugh.
Well, your laugh is infectious. I mean, when you laugh, it's like the whole room wants to laugh. So, I mean, whatever you have about that, Jelly has this pure spirit. You have this laughing spirit that just makes people feel good, I think, when you laugh. Dude,
we had the hardest laugh with Jelly.
Yeah.
Me, Big J. Okerson, Dan Soder, Dave Attell, Mark Norman, I think Jim Norton, I forget. It was a wild group of people. We were under a tent, and Jelly was saying how he just found Mitch Hedberg. And how great he is.
Oh, just found his comedy. Yeah.
And David tells buddy, I got some bad news for you.
Yeah.
And to watch Jelly within an hour realize this guy that he thinks is brilliant is dead. And we were all so high. We could not stop laughing.
Yeah.
We were crying. But yeah, there's nothing better than a great laugh. My dad's laugh's the best laugh, because you got to earn it. My dad's not an easy laugher. And when you get my dad laughing,
yeah.
Oh, it looks like a stroke.
Yeah.
He goes, and then it turns into this. What's crazy, I wonder if you've experienced this. So Georgia has my laugh. I have my grandmother, my Nana's laugh.
Okay.
And so there's a video that Leanne has of me and my Nana laughing at something together. When we were talking, I did a podcast with my Nana. You can find it.
Yeah.
And Nana, and in the podcast, I said, so Nana, where was our family from in Ireland? She's 93 at the time. She goes, I'm not even sure we're Irish. And my cousins start going, hold on, we have like Irish tattoos.
Yeah.
And we start laughing, and Leanne hit pause on it. She goes, you and your Nana have the exact same laugh. And Georgia has my laugh. I have my dad. It's like crazy.
The snorting?
Oh, snorting is because of my sleep apnea.
Okay.
Yeah. I started snorting recently. When I got really fat, snort showed up, and I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I noticed like watching you laugh today makes everybody else laugh. So, I mean, that's the, I don't know if it's contagious or if it's just infectious, but yeah, whatever you got, keep it up.
The thing I got today which was really cool, and I don't know if you caught it much, and you'll catch it on camera, it maybe, was a shit-eating grin, like an ear-to-ear smile. First of all, it was the most beautiful day in one of the most authentically beautiful states in the country.
Yeah.
And we're not in Portland. We're just outside. We're near Salem. We're in Eugene. This is like undeniably gorgeous country.
Yeah.
It's perfect weather. Everyone was nice. Everyone we met on that hike said hi. Everyone's energy was positive.
Yeah.
We were saying like, this is therapy. This is therapy. And then I got to do something I've always wanted to do is shoot a compound bow, which I've done before, but never had a real bow to shoot.
Right.
And it was like everyone was generous, and I'm meeting like Wayne's like one of the sweetest guys who all of a sudden just like testifies to you, and like I don't know, he reads your energy and he goes, "Let me tell you my favorite verse in the Bible," and you're like, and he doesn't know that I love that shit.
Really,
I love when people share faith with me. I love it so much because it means like they trust you.
Yeah,
it's like when people trust you, it's like the coolest feeling. And he did that, and then we go out to his place to shoot the balloons, and it's gorgeous. I told you we're just looking for land in Nashville, and then I go to the place where I go, this is what I want.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I want.
It's perfect, isn't it?
Oh, and then we come back and we lift weights, and then you tell me I was strong. And at one point I'm sitting there and I'm just going like, is there a camera? Am I getting punked?
No.
They're going to tell me I have AIDS. What's going on?
No.
It was a beautiful day.
And then saw some abs out there. Remember that? Speaking of shooting, look at this. Look at this bad boy.
That is the shit.
And that matches your knife, dude.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Look at that.
I'm going to put this on my belt.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
I can't wait to carry this onto the plane and be like, guys, I'm a bow hunter.
Right. So I don't know if you know that, but yeah, that's a sick bow too. I mean, you shot it so well. This is top of the line Hoyt right here.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It's nerve wracking a little bit because and this is just like bow hunter inside talk. So if you're a bow hunter, you're going to be like, the guy knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
But what's nerve wracking is it is way more complex than it looks like. Mm-hmm. Your hand has to be held a certain way, your left hand with you're holding the bow.
Yeah.
You pull back to a certain place on your cheek where you have to look one thing to another thing. This is all just to see if you shoot the bow straight. But then Wayne's like, so I'm going to dial it in for you. And it's a lot like getting fitted for golf clubs where you're like, well, hold on. Maybe I don't always shoot like this.
Yeah.
But then what's crazy is they dial you in and all of a sudden you're looking like a pro. You're like, my grouping
yeah.
and the little, and they're like,
the X.
Yeah.
In the X.
And I was like, and for a second, just like any hack out there with golf clubs that gets some great PXGs dialed in for you, you start thinking you're actually good.
You did do good for your first day.
I was like, the best part of all of today, my favorite part, and this is not on camera. This is just now going to be Bert Kreischer folklore that Joe Rogan, if you're listening, you'll hear maybe 100 times from me, is when they were like, yeah, we put you at 48 pounds. And I was like, cool. And they're like, I go, do they make them? Is it like hard to do? What do you do? And you said 80 pounds. And I said, are those hard? And you're like, yeah, they're pretty hard.
Yeah.
And you guys, you want to try one, pull one back? And I was like, sure.
I thought it was going to be like halfway, like, ah.
And
what happened?
I pulled back 80-pound bow.
You did.
And
you shot it.
It was the look of like the nerd who has the big dick who walks into the locker room. And
it's kind of at a curve.
And all the guys go, whoa, you have a piece on you.
Yeah.
You and Wayne were like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then you guys respectfully, they were like, well, we should, pull your bow up a little bit.
Yeah. We didn't know you had a horse dick.
I can't wait, man. I'm gonna put all those little rubber animals all over my backyard, and I'm gonna hunt them from different places in my house.
That's how
getting
you do
ready
it.
for the apocalypse.
That's how you do it. So, what's this called?
That's called the. Hold on. That's called the cam.
No,
Yep.
I'm the hint. What's this called?
That's God damn it! I just learned this on ChatGPT. The hinge,
Limb.
limb.
What's this called?
That's the frame.
Riser.
The riser. That's this. Oh, that's the thing that puts the bow like this, right?
The arrow.
The arrow.
So that'd be the arrow rest.
Arrow rest, scope,
Sight.
God damn it! I have a lot of learning.
This is a peep sight here. This is the D loop.
D loop, and I know that when you
release
insert an arrow, you got to make sure to line up the cock fin.
Cock vein.
God damn it!
Yeah. No, but a lot to learn today.
A lot to learn.
You did great. I mean, with all that, you hit that X multiple times. Then you went out and were shooting at the balloon at, pretty good distance for a first time archer. You were like nailing like 3 in a row.
Oh,
So
that might be my favorite.
You never missed the elk. In fact,
I did not miss the elk. I
No.
injured it. I made it upset a couple times.
What we say is you hit foam.
I hit foam.
So that's like that target is foam. The 3D target is what we call them, and you hit foam every time, which means no air balls.
God, the best is shooting at the balloon because you release and you wait, and
Instant
I can only
feedback.
imagine what it's like when you're on an animal and you pull back and you're out of breath, you're sweating, and you have in your sights, and when your sight is kind of like, I mean, it's like there's so much to it. It's so much more complex than it looks online. When I've seen so much of what you guys do online, and you're waiting for the sway of your bow to slow, and then you release, and you released right when you were on the target. But you wonder, did I move my hand too much?
Right.
And then you're staying still. And for me, it was just the balloon pop. I can only imagine what it's like when you hear,
Well, you hear a thwack, that arrow hits.
Yeah.
And like hunting one of these. So this is a brown bear.
oh my God.
Look at that skull. That was 9 foot 6 inches. It's a good sized bear.
That's a really good sized
So
bear.
when you hit this with an arrow, it's a special feeling. Or one of these, but you're going to get there.
I mean,
Everybody started, well, okay, so I started just like you did today, not near as good, just to be honest.
wait, what do you mean?
When I first started shooting, I couldn't shoot like you.
Yeah, but the equipment was completely different.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that nobody's born a great archer.
Yeah.
You know what I
agree.
mean? That takes practice. So nobody comes out and they're just like, oh, this is so easy. But you made it look about as easy as it can look for somebody. You shot, I'm telling you, better than I shot for the first time.
Oh, now you're getting in my feelings, and I'm like, so when do we get this bear?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I'm just going to put a bear in I have one. We have a Porosos bear.
Yeah.
I'm just going to foam out its heart.
Yeah.
And
do
then
it.
practice on a bear in
Do
my
it.
backyard. I'll practice far so that when we get like 20 feet from it.
Yeah.
Is that how close you get?
Well, that'd be good, but 20 yards.
20 yards?
Yeah, like that's what you shot at the bow rack. So if you get a bear
wow.
right there, you know how you were hitting that X a few times?
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get an animal that close, if you do everything you're supposed to.
Wow, that just got very real for me
Mm-hmm.
because I can't imagine it just all of a sudden the bear's like, all right, let me stand in the position you're ready for. And then I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
hold on, I'm swaying a little bit.
Yeah, they don't really wait for you, but like these bows, they're so efficient. If you hit a bear at 20 yards, that arrow barely slows down going through it. And at 20 yards with the right setup with the arrow that's tuned perfectly, will go blow through the bear and be 10 yards on the other side of it.
Really?
Blow through his chest. Not even, you know how in the movies the arrow will go in like halfway and stop?
Yeah.
Or even like Walking Dead, it'll stick in their rotten head.
Mm-hmm.
No, an arrow from a tuned bow at 62 pounds, which is what this is at now, will not even stop through a bear.
Wow. I can only imagine all the emotions that I've never felt running through my body.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Well, I just got to kill a bear.
Yeah,
It's good branding.
it is for the
Yeah,
Two
I
Bears.
got I had my 2 Bears vodka, Porosos vodka.
2 Bears 5K.
Yeah, 2 Bears 5K. I'm very big in the bear community.
Yeah.
Gay
These are the
hairy men
guys?
love me.
I didn't even know that was like a reference to gay guys till not even that long ago.
Oh, dude, I have a gay guy who DMs me every now and then, and I read them to my wife, and I go, it makes me feel so good about myself. Shout out to the guy. I know he's not going to hear this. I'm sure he doesn't listen to hunting podcasts. Yeah. But he stopped on the road, and one time I was walking, and he goes, I know you, but I don't know you. I know you're famous, but I don't know why.
Yeah.
And I just got to tell you, I'm huge in the bear community, and you are adorable. And I was like, oh, thanks.
Adorable.
And, yeah. And he made me feel, he goes, me and my partner just think you are so cute. And I was like, dude. And then we started like DMing me. And then he hit me a picture of Sean Patton, who's a great comedian, who's a bear also. Oh. And he's like, who is this love boat? And I was like, Sean Patton. And then the other day, I posted a picture of me in the gym. It was the day I jogged. I felt really good 2 days ago. And he wrote back just a fire emoji. And I went, nice. Kids still got it. By the way, a woman DM'd me when I was in Nashville. A woman DM'd me. And she was like, you look amazing. I'm in Nashville. And then I was like, ugh, get away from me.
Let's hook up.
I was like, more gay men. Make me feel good about myself.
What if it was Denise Richardson?
By the way, I sat next to her on a plane one time.
Yeah.
She still got it.
Really? Recently?
No, it's been a while. It's before a pandemic.
Yeah.
But she was hot as shit.
I bet.
Still got it.
Still got it. I mean, Pamela Anderson, if she puts on makeup, she's been doing like the no makeup thing.
Yeah.
Which, that's fine.
It's fine.
That's fine. But yeah,
I totally get it.
For 60 or whatever the hell she is.
Is she 60?
I think. I don't know.
There's a couple of those that I'd have to be like, listen, honey. At a certain age, you should be able to cheat on your wife at a certain age. Like, listen, she was 72.
Yeah, that shouldn't count.
Yeah.
No, that shouldn't count at
Susan
all.
Sarandon, I'm in it.
Well, Bert, it's been a great day. You got a brand new bow. You got a brand new knife.
I am so
You got so
dialed
much
in.
shit. You got so much. You got hoodies and hats from the bow rack. You
I'm
got
so pumped.
Yeah.
I am so pumped. This has been such a great day. And all I'll say is everything you do, everything about this is amazing. It really is. And I told you, I was texting with Joe. I was like, I have so much anxiety about tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's just all of it. And I'm so glad it happened this way.
Oh, I love it.
I cannot wait to drink a beer with my wife and my daughter and break down my day.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. This means a lot to me.
No, it means more to me, man. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, brother. And it's been great. I'll remember this day forever, but I hope you do too. And I can't wait till we can go on a hunt.
Say less.
All right, guys, keep hammering.
Every step I take, I move my truth. Every time they tell me stop, I use. Every comment, hate that makes my feel. Gather up my energy and boom. I hear them talking, saying the way that I move is so reckless. That is a part of my mind I've been blessed with. Giving my blood, so I am relentless. My fault, they want someone to blame. They sent their hate, it fuels my pace. I am Roy Tough, I am the change, the fuel endure. Feeling like Cam Haynes. Oh, give me the mods, nobody wants.